The India bloc, on the other hand, 306 seats, adding AAP's tally to the mix. They enjoyed the support of 318 parliamentarians. And there are 12 that we learnt were on the fence. We don't quite know exactly which way they have voted. But remember, the counting has begun and the results will be out maybe in an hour or so's time. And we're keeping you first abreast with that. The NDA, in fact, is already preparing for victory. Counting underway, it will continue till about 8 p.m. But MPs will be assembling at Prahlad Joshi's residence, where celebratory preparations have already been made, because as I said, the numbers are not in doubt. It's only about whether any cross-voting helps any side or not. And Prime Minister will be at Prahlad Joshi's residence later this evening for the results and to congratulate the new Vice President. Will cross-voting be a factor? Our guests are joining us to decode what we witnessed both during the campaigning for this Vice Presidential election and also through the voting today.
It is going to be a big victory for the Indian nationalism.
I am more than hopeful that I am going to win this election.
Never been a tough thing. Always DMK takes the right choice, and this time also it has taken up the right choice.
हार गए ऐसे लोग, प्रजातंत्र के ऊपर विश्वास नहीं है, लोग जनता के ऊपर विश्वास नहीं है, जनता का समर्थन नहीं है, ऐसे लोग बात करने का विषय है।
क्या ये आइडियोलॉजी की लड़ाई है? मुझे आपके पास नंबर्स हैं?
आपको कैसे पता?
अब अगर आप आंकड़े देखें,
नहीं, आपको कैसे पता?
अगर आप आंकड़े देखें,
नहीं, आपके तो ठीक है, लेकिन ये वोट तो अंतर आत्मा के उस पर पड़ता है।
Joining us now, Rajat Sethi and Akhil Swami, political analysts with us. Also, CNN News 18's Aman Sharma and Pallavi Ghosh joining us. They've been tracking this election very closely. Aman, let me come to you first. The fact that CP voted in favour of the NDA choice, do you think that's really mainly the big headline as far as party alliances that we've discussed so much is concerned?
Well, I think so, Shivani. I think the CP voting for the NDA is the big story of the Vice President election. The second big story would be when the final numbers come in and we discover if there has been cross-voting also towards the NDA side. So far, both the camps are claiming that their entire camp has voted. Only 13 MPs have abstained from voting as expected. 4 from the BRS, 7 from the BJD, 1 from the Akali Dal and 1 independent. But I think the CP voting in the favour of the NDA means that all 36 MPs from Andhra Pradesh have voted for the NDA candidate. This is the big thing. The CP's 11 MPs, the Congress was clearly hoping that, they will come towards the INDI camp. But the CP making it very, very clear that they had promised to the NDA even before the opposition candidate was announced that they will back the NDA. They believe it should be unanimous choice. They also believe voting should happen, and that is why they are not abstaining. Congress launching this big attack on the CP early today morning, saying that Jagan Mohan Reddy has done a betrayal of the entire country, him by voting for the NDA. He is scared of the CBI, to which a senior Rajya Sabha MP of the CP has told us very clearly that these CBI cases on Jagan Mohan Reddy were in fact foisted during the Congress rule. Jagan Mohan Reddy is not a spineless person and he will fight these cases as he has been fighting them for the last 14 years. But they believe that they are voting in national interest, and that is why they are voting for the NDA.
Well, battle of ideologies, national interest, inner conscious, soul of the country. A lot of nice, lofty terms have been thrown around as far as this election is concerned. But Pallavi, taking from what Aman has just said, given that the CP did not change their vote and voted in favour of the NDA choice, how happy is the opposition with how this election panned out?
well, I mean, I saw a tweet which was put out by Jairam Ramesh, and where he said that all 317 of our MPs have voted for our own candidates, so clearly are patting them on the back. Look, whatever one may say, but it's not a surprise element for anyone if CP or the BJD or the BRS or even Akali Dal decides to abstain. They all have their own reasons. Of course, as far as YSR is concerned, I think the Congress's line is very, very clear. He can never be a friend. He's always an adversary anniversary, and it was one of the most bitter elections that they contested, because mind you, these are the states where the Congress party is very much sees itself as a contender and challenger. So they're not going to be friendly with, say, a Jagan Mohan Reddy in Andhra Pradesh, or with a BRS in Telangana, or even with the Shiromani Akali Dal in Punjab, because what is common is in all these three states, or even the BJD in Orissa, in all of these four states, they are seeing themselves as a challenger and a contender, and in many of them states it's a two-way battle, so they can never be seen by the side of them, and that explains the kind of bitterness or the kind of criticism which is coming in, particularly from the Congress party. But if you're going to ask me about how the mood is within the India bloc, well, they're pretty gung-ho about it. We heard what Akhilesh Yadav had to tell me earlier today, that it is not about aakre, it's not about the numbers, aapko kaise pata ki hamare paas nahi hai. The point is that they have pitched it as a battle for ideology, something to protect the constitution, something to protect the democracy. So in a defeat also, they're going to see a sense of win. And look at the responses which are coming in from the Congress leaders, that all those who did not vote for Mr. Sudershan Reddy actually voted for a regime. They voted for a candidate who's, one, going to be not non-partisan, and second, who himself has been divisive in nature. He represents an ideology which is backed by an ideology which is divisive and anti-constitution. So even in that defeat, I think the India bloc is going to position itself as a win, and a win of ideology.
Well, the numbers have to be in their favour, Rajat, for them to claim any moral victory, isn't it? They've claimed so as far as 2024 election results are concerned, but there was an uptick in the numbers. But if there is no numbers and instead there is cross-voting on the other side, then surely this will be a moral defeat, what has been projected as a battle of ideologies.
You know, the state of affairs of the India alliance is too clever by half. You know, their entire choice of having Justice Reddy as their candidate was so that they can let cat among the pigeons and split the Telugu votes and possibly get all the Telugu votes. They started off with the defeat in the Telangana land itself. In Andhra Pradesh itself, the entirety of members of parliament have gone into one direction, which is against Justice Reddy. So, I mean, you know, this is how ill-prepared Congress is when it comes to, you know, either making a political point or even going out and putting up a fight in order to win an election. So the entire calculation, the amount of effort that is put in, your leader of opposition is out of country just a couple of days before the actual polling is to happen. And then even during that exercise, has there been a genuine appeal to fellow members of the India Alliance? I don't see that. I did not see him reaching out to, say, Uddhav Thackeray, not just over a phone call, but physically going out and making that outreach and trying to massage their egos and ensure that they all come on board. And right now, I think the biggest story that we will hear, we might not come to know, but it will be from Maharashtra. So many members of parliament might just switch sides during the polling and might cross vote, keeping that broader conscience in mind and trying to go ahead and cross vote. My problem is, you know, in the run up to this election, Mallikarjun Kharge ji and Pawan Khela and other spokespersons of the Congress party consistently said that Prime Minister Mody barely has 5-6 months left, and he's going to, you know, either the government will fall or he'll resign. Now, when you're making such broad claims, you had one opportunity to actually, you know, go out and prove your point that yes, there are internal issues within the NDA, and you missed that bus entirely. Now, who is going to trust your broad claims when you come out on television and say that 5-6 mahine ki baat hai? It doesn't cut ice like this.
Okay.
You need to be seen to be fighting and clearly winning certain battles before you go out and make such tall claims as to Prime Minister leaving his chair.
Yeah, some believe this could have been an opportunity for the opposition to kind of show some proof that there is some problem within the NDA. Whether they managed to do so or not, it remains to be seen. It doesn't look so on the face of it. But Akhil Swami, the criticism that is coming in, as Rajat Sethi also espoused, is that even before this battle was fought, like today when the voting took place, the India bloc kind of lost the battle by not being able to convince some of the parties who should have been on the fence, either abstained or voted in their favour, YSRCP being one of those examples. For them to be voting with the BJP or the NDA is a first of its sorts. So did the India bloc lose the plot even before the voting began?
Shivani, all of you are counting number of parliaments on that side or this side. See, I am more concerned as to whether these member of parliaments who are voting today are genuinely elected, and they have been elected by vote chori. See, after the allegations made by Rahul Gandhi, the Chunav Ayog and the Election Commission should have clarified constituency-wise and clarified whether rigging was made and the electoral rolls were manipulated. Number
so they
one.
have
Number
clarified. Akhil Swami, I don't know what your point is, because the Election Commission has already clarified, saying the elections are free and fair. They have obviously rejected every charge of vote chori.
See, Shivani, I am more concerned that Sri Lanka, we saw this happening 2 years back. We saw in Bangladesh same thing happening, and the president of Sri Lanka and the prime minister of Bangladesh fleeing the country. Today we are seeing in Nepal, the youngsters are ousting the president and prime minister of Nepal. I pray to God that should not happen in India, because dictatorial attitude and not giving jobs to youth, whatever number of parliaments you may have, the ministers in Nepal are beaten ruthlessly. I don't want that to happen in India.
The fact that you're drawing this analogy, Akhil Swami, the very fact that you're bringing this in this debate and you're drawing the analogy suggests exactly the opposite. Because India bloc leaders have very openly talked about street wars in India. They very openly talked about the fact that the public will take to the streets and beat the leaders.
Shivani, I'm not advocating that. What I'm saying is that Prime Minister should have given at least 10,000 crores each to Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Kashmir. He has not yet visited the Prime Minister Relief Fund. I do not know.
I'm not sure what that has to do with this debate that we're having. We're discussing the Vice President's election.
And the ruling party is inviting anarchy
no,
in the
one
country.
second. Mr. Swami, my question to you is this. My question to you...
Farmers should be given ASP.
One second. Sir, all of those are electoral issues. All of those are electoral issues that deserve their own place. I'm not sure they played a role as far as the vice presidential elections are concerned. But if, let's say, Bihar was such a big issue, why didn't Rajat Sethi, the India bloc, choose a candidate from Bihar then?
Precisely.
They should have chosen a candidate from Bihar, saying he's our face of the agitation against the electoral rolls.
Or they could have gone ahead and said that these are Chori MPs. Your name is not Rajat, so please pause.
Yes, Rajat, very quickly, then I'll come back to you, sir. Yes.
Simple point here is, if they wanted to prove a point, they had 2 or 3 opportunities in the past. You know, when public will hit the street, only when, there is undeniable evidences around vote chori, which Mr. Rahul Gandhi has not presented till date. In fact, the last interaction that happened was when the Election Commission said, come in, file an affidavit, sign on it and file an affidavit, and he ran away. That is what Indian people have seen so far. Okay, now coming to this election, why did, if these members of parliament are Chori ke MPs, why did they not go out and Congress party boycott this elections? Boycott karna chahiye tha, ghar pe baiठte. Why come in over there and waste everybody's time? And Mallikarjun Kharge, with all his joy, he's walking over and trying and vote. Who is he fooling? Does he feel that he's trying to hold Gadkari ji's hand and Gadkari ji himself is a Chori ka MP?
No, so this vote chori, I don't want to combine issues here, because this whole vote chori allegation and electoral roll
when you
is
run
a
out of
completely
ideas.
separate issue.
But let me tell you, Akhil ji is absolutely right. After this event is over, you will see Congress party MPs coming out and talking exactly this language. So what Akhil ji is saying is actually the moot line that is going to be carried forward by the India Alliance members after they lose this election. Because one way or the other, they have to delegitimize the whole thing. Otherwise, how will they go and face Bihar voters?
The only way.
Elections.
The only way that doesn't happen is if they get 1 or 2 cross votes on their side. If the numbers increase even by 1 or 2, then it's a legitimate election.
No, you cannot count that. No, see.
Then it's a legitimate election. By how and who cross voted is a separate issue. You can't do that. But I want to quickly bring in Pallavi and Aman also. Pallavi, this whole choice of the candidate itself, as we are discussing now, also has been debated ad nauseum very quickly. Is there any feeling within the India bloc that maybe they could have thrown a better surprise in terms of the choice of the candidate?
No, I think they are absolutely convinced that Mr. Sudershan Reddy is the right choice, and even as we speak, he's of course gone across to meet the Congress President, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge. Usually the India bloc has been very divided, Shivani, whenever it comes to taking a decision or making a decision rather. But in this case, there was a complete sense of unanimity. Now he was, if you remember, ticks the right boxes according to all the India bloc leaders. Yes, there were different points of view. Many within the India bloc felt that perhaps we should choose some someone from Tamil Nadu, and so on and so forth. But over here, the reason why they felt Mr. Reddy ticked the right boxes is one, he was very much on that OBC committee or the census committee, caste census committee of Telangana, and that is where they felt that he is good that way. He's also been a former jurist on many landmark, according to them, constitutional civil liberties cases.
Right.
So they felt that this was the best calling card of Mr. Sudershan Reddy when it comes to countering the NDA and accuse them of being anti-constitution.
Yes, and you know what is the big theme for the opposition, Aman, is OBC reservation. It's youth, for example, it's vote chori, focus a lot on Bihar and these things. And many feel that maybe if that was what the focus needed to be, the candidate should have reflected that choice. Because yes, these elections are for the VP and ceremonial, and they're not going to really make a difference in terms of electoral campaigning, but it's the messaging, isn't it?
Well, I think the India bloc missed a trick here. As you correctly say, I think they should have gone for a candidate from the heartland, maybe from Bihar, the state going to polls next, because going for Mr. Reddy, who belongs to undivided Andhra Pradesh, who was born there, you have not been able to get even the YSRCP on board. You've not been able to get the BRS to vote for you. BRS has also, abstained from voting. So what did you really gain? The Telugu pride, which I think the opposition also had an idea about, has, I think, failed here. On the other hand, look at the NDA bloc. Getting a Tamilian in him contesting for as your NDA nominee, Mr. Radhakrishnan, you have put the DMK in a spot. Today I spoke to Mr. Thamba Reddy of the DMK, and he was very clear that the DMK is against Tamils because you are out to defeat a Tamil candidate in these elections, somebody who won from Coimbatore twice, the only BJP candidate who won twice from Coimbatore. So when Coimbatore could vote for him, why is the DMK opposing him? This may be a factor for the NDA in upcoming Tamil Nadu elections as well.
The numbers are awaited. Akhil Swami, I have 30 seconds, sir. If the numbers are convincingly in the favour of the NDA candidate, including cross-voting that many are suspecting would happen, will the opposition delegitimize these elections, or do you think that is not something that the India bloc should do?
See, student agitation has started in Bihar. I request to all students of Bihar and of the country not to follow the Nepal line and the Bangladesh-Sri Lanka line. Be peaceful. This is our country. But I also request the Prime Minister of India to give jobs to the youth and MSP to the farmers, not to be ruthless and dictatorial.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't want my country, my motherland to suffer because of the dictatorship that is we are seeing for the last 20 years.
All right. We'll have that discussion separately, and I will look forward to having you on that. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. The results will be out in an hour or so. Stay with CNN News 18. Thanks a lot for watching Plain Speak, presented to you from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. Thanks a lot for watching.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Joining us here on CNN News 18, huge story breaking in the neighborhood. The Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who's been a sort of a semi-permanent fixture in Nepali politics over the last 30 years, he has now tendered in his resignation. His current government, I think this is his third stint in power, his current government, which was an uneasy coalition between him, the Nepali Congress, and a section of the Maoist party. It was an uneasy coalition that had been in power for the last year or so now, and now, given these massive scale protests that we've seen, led by young people, the trigger being, of course, the social media ban, but it goes far beyond that. Issues of corruption, unemployment, privileges, dynastic politics, curbs on young people speaking their mind, all of this sort of came into a deadly cocktail. It came into a deadly combination, which finally ended up consuming the current Prime Minister, Mr. Oli, who has tendered in his resignation. The latest information that we have is that Mr. Oli has been given safe escort by an army chopper. Him and his immediate family members have been taken to an army barrack where they will be kept for some time. CNN News 18 broke this story first to you. We were the first ones to tell you that Mr. Oli has put in his papers. He has officially sent in his resignation to the Nepalese president, Mr. Paudel, whose resignation has now been accepted at 12:05 p.m. We told you about Mr. Oli planning to step down. It was clear earlier this morning itself. The RSP party quit, 4 ministers quit. The writing on the wall was clear as day to the Nepalese Prime Minister that he's fast losing support and he needs to step down. At 2:16 p.m. officially, CP Sharma Oli, Prime Minister of Nepal, put in his papers and stepped down as Prime Minister after being given safe passage by the military, an assurance of safe passage by the Nepal Army Chief. Let me go across to Darshan, who's a Nepali journalist, who is joining us live from Kathmandu. Darshan, so Mr. Oli, the long-serving Prime Minister of Nepal, has finally quit. Do we know where he is? He's apparently been taken in an army helicopter to some safe passage. And what happens next, Darshan? Who becomes the next Prime Minister? What is the next government going to be like? Is there any word about what is happening?
So there is a lot of protest right now. Like though I'm in a safe place right now, I can hear a lot of screaming and the cloud which is filled with the smoke. So I'm not sure which are the buildings that has been into fire, but yeah, the PM Oli finally resigned. But it's not about a new government. It's a generational war. Like I mentioned earlier, Gen Z are like crazy, and there is also a lot of riots that's happening. And there is no one to take a lead at this time. But Gen Z are also looking after Balin to come forward to control this chaos. Because right now there are protesters inside parliamentary building, inside the Singha Darbar, where all the ministries used to handle their places, and there are also many data centers that have very critical information. And right now there is no presence of the government in the street. Nepal police and APF have already said that the situation is not in our control. So I mean, it's chaos everywhere.
So tell me, where is the Nepalese army? Are they protecting these sensitive installations, the parliament building, the secretariat, the houses of various ministers? We're told that choppers, military choppers, were sent to some of these houses to evacuate the ministers. What is the latest in terms of, how this story is unfolding there, and what are the demands of these young people? Because it started with the social media ban, but it seems like this is pent-up anger. For a number of reasons, from corruption to unemployment, which is all blown over now in Nepal.
Right, exactly. And the bigger, scope here, it's like I have been saying that it was also, I mean, social media ban took, maybe it helped to escalate things, but it is one of the only reason. The main focus is the corruption and the Gen Z who are considered to be the people. And there was no aspiration in the country. If you look at past 10-15 years, like looking at the trend and the revolving game of chair that these few political faces they played during the politics. So it was an anger of this generation, not only Gen Z, in fact the millennials and other generations people as well. So I think the impact created the frustration that each Nepalese that hold inside of us. In terms of corruption,
Darshan, terms of who is likely to now step forward and become the next leader of Nepal? We heard from a protester, a young lady, a moment ago. I believe the current mayor of Kathmandu seems to be very popular. What is his name? What do we know about him?
So Balin Saha, he is a former rapper turned metropolitan, he's the mayor right now. So people and the young generation, they look to him. So I think the one person that could control this whole crowd that's going crazy in different parts of the country would be Balin Saha. Also, I've been listening to a lot of things. I don't know why he has not yet able to speak or to stop this chaos that's happening. So literally, I mean, there is also rights, if you understand. I mean, there is no presence of government right now in the country. The streets of Kathmandu, the streets of Nepal has been in the control of the young people. There are also chanting like the young people have won. I don't know how the situation will take place.
So you are saying that the current political operatives, whether it is Mr. Dioba, Mr. Prachanda, Mr. Oli, of course, has stepped down, all the other political operatives in the current parliament, none of them are acceptable to the young people?
No, not at all. And there are also Raprapa.
CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan, and we are coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studios, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. There's plenty to share, viewers, this evening from the turmoil in Nepal, where there is a regime change that's been effected as the Gen Z have taken to the streets in Nepal, and KP Sharma Oli and his entire government is gone. The government has been toppled. The army has taken control. There could be an interim government very soon. There are some dramatic pictures of the nation's finance minister not just being kicked on the streets, but stripped and chased down the stream in Kathmandu. We will get you all those pictures. There's also closer home, the drama around the vice presidential elections. And in the next 40-45 minutes, we should have the results. We'll go across to our guests in a bit, and also our reporters, to get the details on who's got their, not just the numbers in place, but who's able to perhaps break ranks from the other side. Is it the NDA or is it the India bloc? But first up, big development that's come from Doha. There's been a series of explosions, and even as we start this edition of The Right Stand, we are getting this update where the Israeli Defense Forces have claimed that the Hamas's chief negotiator has been neutralized, and they have said, Al Arabiya English also confirming, that indicates Hamas's chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya has been killed in an Israeli strike in Doha in Qatar. There have been a series of explosions, and the Israeli Air Force has said steps were taken to minimize harm to non-combatants, including use of precision weaponry and additional intelligence information. The IDF and Shin Bet will continue to act with determination to defeat the terrorist organization Hamas, which is responsible for the October 7 massacre. And before that, they have said that the IDF and Shin Bet, through the Air Force, conducted a targeted strike a short while ago against the top leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. The leadership members who were attacked had led the terrorist organization's activities for years and are directly responsible for carrying out October 7 massacre and managing the war against the state of Israel. And now Al Arabiya English, these are pictures, first shots, first stills that are coming in from Doha, Qatar. And that's it. In the distance, you can see the explosion, plumes of smoke in the skyline because of this targeted strike, where now confirmation comes that Hamas's chief negotiator, Khalil al-Hayya, has been killed in the Israeli strike in Qatar, in Doha. And Israel, the IDF, making no bones about it. They're coming out and claiming that we have actually neutralized somebody who remained a threat to their integrity, their sovereignty, and is responsible for the killing of innocent Israelis, most importantly the October 7 massacre. Akanksha joins us with more details. Yes, Akanksha, series of explosions reported, and the IDF confirming that these were targeted strikes with the intent to minimize casualty or inclusion of non-combatants in this strike.
Absolutely, Anand. In fact, in the inputs we are receiving, particularly from, say, media outlets like Al Arabiya, are indicating that Hamas's chief has in fact been the chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya was killed in the Israeli strike. As you rightly highlighted, that these are targeted strikes to eliminate whatever remaining members of Hamas are. This is part of the wider operation that Israel continues to conduct. Yes, there were talks about ceasefire, but in a fresh spate of attacks, in all those explosions that have taken place, several blasts in Qatar's Doha are being reported. But remember, this is also going to place Qatar in a very tricky position, because they have been uniquely positioned to come up with the negotiations. They've been playing a very significant role in the ongoing negotiations as far as the situation in Gaza is concerned. So we'll have to see how Qatar now wants to take this forward. But several blasts were reportedly heard just a while ago, and Israeli media is also citing reports. In fact, they're saying that the attack was aimed at this particular Hamas leader, Khalil al-Hayya, who was in fact the Gaza chief of Hamas. So this is a major victory for the IDF. as they have now eliminated yet another important high-profile Hamas member, Khalil al-Hayya. We'll have to in fact see how this will shape up the ongoing war in Gaza, but it's been part of a series of explosions. We are waiting more reports in terms of who else have been eliminated.
Well, we just have Al Arabiya quoting a source from Hamas has told Al Arabiya, and we are quoting this report, that the negotiating delegation was targeted during its meeting in Qatar, where the Palestinian group's political bureau is based, and the target was senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. The strikes happened just before 4 p.m. local time in the Qattara district of Doha. Several blasts were heard. Smoke was seen rising over the Qattara district in the capital. An eyewitness has told Al Arabiya. A resident living in Doha has told Al Arabiya English that they heard at least 5 blasts. Now, the Israeli Defense Forces have said that there was a series of coordinated attacks, and this was based on intelligence, real intelligence. Steps were taken to minimize harm to non-combatants, including the use of precision weaponry and additional intelligence information. Senior Hamas leadership was targeted in the strikes, and now Al Arabiya confirming that Hamas's chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya has been neutralized in this strike by the IDF and Shin Bet, who have also come out and claimed that they are indeed the ones who conducted these strikes. How would Qatar officially react? Because it's sovereign Qatar soil, Qatari soil. But the target has been a Hamas leader, Palestinian groups, negotiating groups sitting there. These are more visuals, that are pictures that have come in from Doha around 4 p.m. local time in Doha, and that's why we see the evening sun towards the west, and the slant of the sun rays and the light very clear, and the direction of the wind showing the way, the plumes of smoke because of the multiple explosions. Eyewitnesses confirming at least 5 blasts. We got to move on here on the right stand, and let's focus on the results that could come in just a short while. Yes, Nepal is a big story. We'll go to that in a bit, but this closer home, and it's symbolic but very, very important. Counting of the votes is still on, viewers. In the next 35 to 40 minutes, we should have the results. Numbers are stacked up clearly in favor of the NDA, but what will be the eventual number? That's what everybody is looking at, because many believe there will be a certain amount of cross-voting. Which way it happens, breaking of ranks, which way it happens, we have to wait and watch. Results will be declared. Total number of votes, 788. 7 vacant seats, effective number of votes 781. Out of these, 768 voted today. That's the number that we have. 98.3%, that's the voting. 13 were absent or abstentions. BRS 4%, 4, BJD 7, Akali Dal 1. So in all, 12 members abstained, and independent 1. 13 members abstained. 427 NDA MPs cast their votes. 11 YSRCP MPs voted for NDA's candidate, Mr. Radhakrishnan. The NDA said they are expecting 40 to 50 more votes. Meanwhile, the India bloc has come out and said they had 100% turnout from the India bloc. 315 were supposed to vote. All of them have turned up to vote. That's what the India bloc has said. Now, very shortly, we would know Bharat's next vice president. And this would be a full term for the vice president. So will be from 2025 till 2030. It's not just for the interim, because Mr. Dhankar, midway through his tenure, had decided to step down. NDA is very, very confident of victory. Let's go across to Aman Sharma, Pallavi Ghosh joining us at this point. Aman, critical what the final number will be. NDA is confident it will be 30 to 40 more votes, if not more, than the number of 427. Now, if they touch 450, Aman, that means they have broken the India bloc.
Absolutely, Anand. Actually, the victory of Mr. CP Radhakrishnan is a foregone conclusion. Everybody knows that. But the real fight here is in the perception, in the numbers. The India bloc is at 315. So if they go below 315, it shows that the NDA was able to breach the ranks of the INDI bloc. if the NDA is able to add on to its numbers, 427, 428 is around the, I would say, the approximate number of the NDA bloc. If they are able to go above that, that means there has been cross-voting from the Congress side, from other opposition parties, because this is a vote without a whip. So there is a conscious voting as well, and the BJP is very, very confident that its numbers will reflect that, and that will be also, in a way, the INDI bloc will not be able to claim a moral defeat. Already, I think the big story also, Anand, besides the cross-voting which will happen, which we will know in the next few minutes or in about half an hour, is also the YSRCP, I would say. With 11 MPs, this party from Andhra has voted completely in the favor of the NDA. The entire Andhra Pradesh, in fact, all 36 MPs of Andhra Pradesh in both the houses of parliament from all parties have voted with the NDA. This is, I think, a big development, because YSRCP, with which TDP has been at loggerheads, TDP just defeated them a year back in the elections. YSRCP coming to the NDA's fold, voting in full measure, I think is also a big blow to the INDI bloc, and the Congress has reacted in a manner saying in the morning that it is the biggest betrayal, and maybe Jagan Reddy is afraid of the CBI cases, to which the YSRCP has responded saying that these CBI cases were falsely foisted by us, by the Congress government, and Jagan Reddy will face them. He's not a man, who doesn't have a spine. So I think the YSRCP, moving over to the NDA camp, and the cross-voting which will maybe happen, we'll know in the next half an hour, is going to be the big stories of this VP election.
Right. Thanks for that, Aman. Just stay on with us. We have Arun Dhanta joining us from Prahlad Joshi's residence. Arun, coming to you in a bit. Pallavi Ghosh also with us. Pallavi, where will this cross-voting happen? And the Jairam Ramesh tweeted saying all 315 of our India bloc have come out and voted. But do they know who they have voted for? Are they confident it's their candidate?
Oh yes, absolutely. They're super confident that all the 317 MPs did vote for the candidate. But this is a climb down from the earlier prediction and projection which was coming in from the India bloc. The India bloc actually had put a figure of around 320 to 324 votes in their favor. That clearly is not happening if you go by the admission of Mr. Jairam Ramesh. I think all along there was a little sense of worry within the India bloc that will there indeed be a cross-voting. What we are picking up and is that within 20 to 25 minutes, there could be a press conference, which is of course going to be beamed live on Sunset TV, and I think the numbers will tell the real story. But if you're going to talk about the ones who abstain, frankly speaking, whenever there have been those endless rounds, and in fact a meeting which took place yesterday also at the Central Hall in Parliament, we were very clearly told by the top sources we do not expect the BJD, the BRS or even YSR to actually support us or vote for our candidate. We do expect them either to cross over to the BJP, or we expect them to actually indulge in a kind of abstention. And in actual politically speaking, because there's life beyond the VP elections, I don't think the VP elections is going to be the end of the politics which India bloc will want to play out. But there's a life beyond them, and many of them, they think that it's not really worth it that we are going to jeopardize our political equations, our political strategy as far as the state level is concerned. Before I come to you very quickly, just rattling off, for example, the BJD. They wouldn't want a BJD on their side. They would rather be a game of now the BJP versus the Congress, because they feel that BJD is very much on decline and possibly even being extinguished. On the other hand, as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned, game is clearly TDP versus the Congress party. They don't want Jagan Mohan Reddy to even emerge as a counter, and therefore they wouldn't want to take help from YSRCP. And finally, of course, let's talk about Telangana. There also the game is going to be largely between the BJP, the Congress versus the BRS, and that's how they wanted to stay. I mean, for example, for argument's sake, if they take any kind of a support from BRS, you know what it would mean for the local leaders at the state level. So they think beyond the VP polls. When you come down to a nitty-gritty of ground politics, it would be a huge embarrassment for them if actually these parties would have ended up voting for them. That's the thinking within the India bloc.
Yes, so there are multiple compulsions, multiple permutations, combinations, but within the NDA, how is all of that glossed over, especially with what Aman was saying, that the Telugu parties, all of them voted en masse, except for, of course, Telangana and the Congress there, and the BRS abstained. So the BRS could have said, all right, we'd go one way or the other, but they abstained. Why that? Arun Dhanta is outside Prahlad Joshi's residence. What does Mr. Prahlad Joshi have to say, Arun? It's been a long day, NDA quietly confident, and it was Prahlad Joshi who said कि जितना दिख रहा है उससे ज़्यादा मिलेगा. Where is this confidence coming from?
Well, that's right, Anand. We all know there is exercise, of course, before such big election or any big bill that the government is planning to bring in the parliament, and probably their top leaders, speak to other MPs cross parties, and they get this sense. And of course, that's the reason why perhaps when BJP top leaders are saying this, they're expecting more than what NDA has as when the ultimate result will come out. I think that's something which is part of their confidence now. But let me quickly show you a glimpse here. The house is of course completely decked up here. This is the entry gate. You can see, in fact, on the entry gate you can see a portfolio of sorts of CP Radhakrishnan, what he has done throughout his career. They have pasted there outside, starting from 1974, when he first in fact became part of the state executive, and then of course going on to become the chief of the BJP in Tamil Nadu, and then of course he contested the 2 Lok Sabha election, that too at that point in time when it was very difficult, considered very difficult for the BJP there to win 2 Lok Sabha elections, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple things which he has achieved and done in his life are actually there outside the gate. We're given to understand, Anand, that in a short while from now we'll be seeing that the Secretary General of Lok Sabha will be, of course, doing a press conference officially declaring the result, and then of course we'll be seeing CP Radhakrishnan coming here, and Prime Minister Mody is also expected to come here somewhere around 9:15.
So Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be coming there after his tour to Himachal and Punjab, and he was here in the morning, the first to cast his vote. Aman, Pallavi and Arun, thank you. It's been a long day, fantastic work on ground covering this. But yes, the VP elections were eclipsed by what happened in Nepal, and we'll go across to that. Let's quickly go across to our guest. Siddharth Yadav, national spokesperson of the BJP, and Nikul Patel, leader of the Congress party, is with us. Namaste and Jai Hind, and thank you for your patience. And Nikul Patel, it was fait accompli in terms of the numbers were not stacked in favor of the opposition, but the eventual score will make a difference in terms of who broke whose ranks, and that's going to be critical, or whether you're able to hold on to your own flock.
Definitely, we already know that in the Lok Sabha, the numbers are not in favor of definitely India bloc, but as what Bharatiya Janata Party and NDA always try to portray that they are not all together, but that in this election and the number of votes that will come out will definitely reflect the picture and portray that all India bloc are together, and as what rightly Jairam Ramesh come out with a tweet that all 315 our MPs had voted for our candidate, that is Sudershan Reddy ji. So I think the perception Bharatiya Janata Party wants to build will come out, and this will be just we can say that a part of further election process that are going to come down in the assemblies or wherever in the upcoming days. So I don't think that anywhere India bloc is at a loss, I think, but definitely NDA is going to have some dent that some of them allies have abstained from voting. And let's see what happens, the final result, if still what 427 claimed by NDA is going to be there or not.
But if that number touches 440, and if that number exceeds 440, that means clearly your numbers will go down from 318. So that would imply something. Siddharth Yadav, thank you for your patience. Namaste. It's been a busy day all around in terms of news, lots of developments happening across. So are there going to be some precision strikes by the NDA on the India bloc?
No, Anand, we are very confident that the number that we already have, we are going to get a bigger number than that. And definitely people are going to vote in a right manner. Our elected representatives in both the houses from across the political spectrum are going to vote in a manner which will strengthen the democracy, which will strengthen the constitution, and will strengthen the spirit of the democracy in our country. We have been very confident from day one. There was no doubt that we had the numbers. The opposition fielded their candidate despite knowing their numbers. But having said that, it is an election where merit has to be chosen over for the sake of politics, what the opposition is trying to do. CP Radhakrishnan ji definitely holds a very strong background of being a political activist, being a Sangha Karyakarta, being a member of the parliament, holding the office of the governor, his vast experience, administrative experience, and definitely once the election results are announced and he assumes the office, we would see that how once he takes the position, the office of the vice president is also going to be elevated by his presence.
If that is the case, why did BRS and BJD abstain and not back him?
No, it is, I think, Anand, for political parties to themselves decide whether to abstain or not to abstain. We would have wanted everybody to come and vote, and we would have wanted even, that the opposition would also on fewer occasions definitely should cross the lines and should forget about politics and would have come together. It would have been such a nice situation if no election would have been happening. We had the numbers. The opposition could also have come together and said that we are unanimously electing, but they also did not choose so. Neither did, say, some of the other parties who chose to abstain. But whatever the case may be, it is for the political parties and elected representatives to decide and to vote. But we are very confident of one thing, that the numbers that we have, of the elected representatives with NDA, we are going to secure a victory for the vice president position with more number of votes than we already have. That is very sure, and we are very confident about this.
How do you get this confidence? Who within the opposition are you breaking? Because somebody has to break ranks for you to be able to get more than what you are expecting or projecting.
No, not necessarily, Anand. Is specifically for an election of the vice president office, no whip is issued, and elected representatives and MPs can vote for whosoever they wish to vote. We have seen in this election, and specifically of what has happened lately, just before today, before the polling has happened, the judges, ex-judges of our country also came out in response and said that someone who was projected as who was a justice in our country, who held that position, should not have gone to, just for the sake of politics, to somebody who was convicted of corruption. We have seen from all ranks, we have seen from everybody across the spectrum who have shown their displeasure over this. We have also seen how the Congress party today, who always speaks of, say, committed judiciary, who speaks of that no luring should be happening to any judges post they give up their position. But now they would want to place someone who was made a judge while Congress was in government, was made a judge of the Supreme Court while again Congress was in government, and now they want to place them and position him as a vice president candidate. So what happened to that? So seeing all of this hypocrisy and definitely the kind of decisions that...
But Mr. Reddy was the same person who was made Lokayukta in Goa when Manohar Parrikar ji was the chief minister. So how does that make a difference?
And definitely so. And definitely so. But that does not account and that does not discount that no differences over what judgments he took or what positions he had taken in the past can be discounted or can be forgotten. If the country had to face Naxalism for next, say, 2 more decades because of the position that he took and the judgment that he gave while he was on the chair, the history is going to remember that and question him for that.
So then those questions can be asked of Mr. Radhakrishnan also, because he was supported by the DMK. Before that, he was supported by the AIDMK, depending upon who was there in the NDA. So, but this time around, the DMK is not backing him. Nikul Patel, how do you want to respond? That your choice of candidate was wrong. And did you perhaps miss a trick by not looking at an OBC or a Dalit candidate, and especially from Bihar? Did you miss, when I say did you, the India bloc?
Yeah.
Miss an opportunity there?
See, I would like to respond to my counterpart that what BJP guy is telling, that they are the people, they feel that whomsoever is contesting election against them are not good, and it's not in the interest of democratic process. They only want that any candidate put up by Bharatiya Janata Party is far having good credentials and he must be voted, all people must start voting for him, and then he should only win. That is a part of process, but that is not like that. Any candidate who is a citizen of the country and we feel that okay fine, this he is the person who could be there as a candidate, we have put on him, and he is also having a good credential, he is a good citizen, he is having good we can say that its own career and everything. So apart from all these things, the number is always going to play a role in an electoral process, because we know that Lok Sabha as well as both the houses, the numbers are in favor of Bharatiya Janata Party, so they can confidently talk about those things. But going without an election is not going a good part in the democratic process. So as a part of that process, we have selected a candidate and we try to put it in the fray of vice president. And we feel that we have done our good job, we have tried our best. And in future, that will also help us to understand the entire process and entire political environment of the country with different, we can say that allies which are there with India right now.
Siddharth, you want to respond to that?
No, I think I don't really understand the argument, Anand, that the opposition would want to just field a candidate just for the sake of knowing who is with NDA or who is not with NDA. But if that's the real reason why they have fielded retired Justice Reddy in this election, then I think it's for them to decide whether it is right or wrong. But I think this is a case wherein elected members, the members of parliament across the political spectrum are going to vote in favor of the democracy, in favor of the constitution, with their inner voice coming out. I know that this phrase was being more used by retired Justice Reddy in his election campaign, but when the inner voice and inner calling asks you to vote more, then I'm very sure that NDA is going to score more votes and a larger majority.
You keep saying that. Now, if that happens, Nikul Patel, does that mean the India bloc is divided? That the India bloc has been, the ranks have been breached?
Already you can see the dent in NDA, and that is reflected by abstaining from voting itself. A healthy democratic process that is being.
But BRS and BJD are not part of the NDA. So where is the dent?
They are supporting it. But okay, fine. As per your okay, then it's good, fine. But I would like to say that what Bharatiya Janata Party is always feeling that nobody should contest election. That is what my friend want to convey. I don't understand why. And they don't want any democratic process to take place.
I don't want to convey this.
That is the message what I feel that you want to convey, I think. So I think you should not choose that part in your speech that, okay, fine, they are just putting the candidate for the sake of putting it and they already know that they are going to lose the election. Here is not a matter of winning or losing, but here is to contest for something that is not good in the country, because we feel that the entire country is facing some difficulties that being not good with the present government. So as a part of a demonstration and democratic process, we have chosen our best candidate and we try to contest that election. And contesting an election is not.
So you very seriously believe, with no disrespect to Mr. Reddy, that he was the best candidate that the India bloc could have chosen at a time when perhaps the India bloc had the opportunity to not just move first soon after Mr. Dhankar resigned to announce a candidate, but also walk the talk on the OBC Dalit card, and also perhaps capitalize on a possibility where a Bihar-based candidate could have been asked. Pressure could have been built on the JDU to break ranks because it was Bihari Asmita at stake. Somewhere, some trick was not missed. And that there is nobody else within the India bloc who you thought could be a better person for the position of the Vice President compared to Mr. Radhakrishnan. With no disrespect to Mr. Reddy. Ji.
Now
okay, we're going to, I think the VP results are being announced. Let's go across to Sansad TV.
From Rajya Sabha and 543 from Lok Sabha. There are 6 vacancies in Rajya Sabha and 1 vacancy in Lok Sabha. Thus, there are 781 electors. The polling for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, which commenced at 10 a.m. today, the 9th of September 2025, in room number F101 Vasudha, first floor, Parliament House, New Delhi, closed at 5 p.m. Out of the 781 electors, 767 electors cast their votes before closure of the poll, that is 5 p.m. The total elector turnout was accordingly 98.2%. Only 1 ballot box was used for the poll, which was sealed immediately after the close of poll at 5 p.m. in the presence of the authorized representatives of the contesting candidates and election observers. The counting of votes commenced at 6 p.m. The ballot box was opened in the presence of the authorized representatives of the contesting candidates, election observers, and the counting officers, whom I had appointed to assist me in counting of votes. The ballot papers taken out were first scrutinized. The valid and invalid ballot papers and one postal ballot paper was also received, were segregated, and the valid ballot papers were distributed according to the first preference vote secured by each candidate. The postal ballot has been treated as returned and cancelled as the elector declined to cast his vote. 767 votes were polled, out of which 752 were valid and 15 were invalid. The quota sufficient to get a candidate elected as vice president was determined by dividing the total number of first preference votes secured by both the candidates by 2 and then adding 1 to the quotient. The said quota was 377. As all of you are aware, the value of votes for the presidential election is 1. Shri B Sudershan Reddy has secured 300 first preference votes and Shri CP Radhakrishnan has secured 452 first preference votes. As the first preference vote secured by Shri CP Radhakrishnan was greater than the requisite quota, in pursuance of provisions contained in Section 11 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act 1952, 31 of 1952, read with Rule 35 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Rules 1974, I, PC Mody, the returning officer for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, hereby declare that Shri CP Radhakrishnan, Jal Bhushan Raj Bhavan, Walkeshwar Road, Malabar Hill, Mumbai, has been duly elected to the office of Vice President of India. The result is being sent to the Election Commission of India and the Ministry of Law and Justice as per the extant provisions under Section 12 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Act 1952 and Rule 35 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Rules 1974. Overall, the 17th Vice Presidential election was conducted in a free, fair and orderly manner. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the candidates and their authorized representatives for their cooperation, which facilitated early completion of the proceedings. Thank you.
Oh, CP Radhakrishnan. CP Radhakrishnan is the next Vice President of Bharat. 17th Vice Presidential elections have concluded and that's the score. The score is on the screens. 452 to the NDA, 300 to the India bloc. And this is out of the 752 valid votes. Total votes polled were 767. 15 votes were invalid. And despite those 15 votes invalid, it's the India bloc that is at 300. The NDA, the accumulation of the first preference, second preference votes, overall the score coming to 452. Siddharth Yadav, Nikul Patel with us. We'll try and go across to our reporters also in a bit. But the big announcement coming in from Mr. PC Mody there that CP Radhakrishnan has won hands down. The NDA numbers were 427 plus another 11 by YSRCP would have gone to 438. But this number has crossed 450. It's 452. There are 15 invalid votes. Amritpal Singh's vote, which was sent by a postal ballot as per reports, has been rejected. Pallavi Ghosh now joins us. Pallavi, massive victory for the NDA beyond the numbers that it held, and it's breached that 450 number with 752 votes, final valid votes.
Absolutely, and not only that, I think the bigger story is that a huge amount, and I would say a fairly big amount of cross voting which has taken place. If you look at the figures which has been put out by the Secretary General, look at the kind of figures which have been put out. They are talking about 767 total polls which have been polled, of which 752 are valid. So there are 300 first preference votes which have gone in for Sudershan Reddy and 452 first valid votes as far as CP Radhakrishnan is concerned. And going by the rule book, the first preference votes are the yardstick on which you decide the winner. And obviously, no guesses here, the CP Radhakrishnan is the winner. Yeah. But if you remember a tweet which was put out by Jairam Ramesh a short while back, he had said that I congratulate, because all the 315 of our MPs have voted. So where is that missing 15 number? Because if there are 300 first preference votes which have gone in for Mr. Sudershan Reddy, clearly it is not in sync with what Jairam Ramesh has been claiming of 315 MPs having voted. So I would say that as of now, prima facie, it's been a 15 number which has been a kind of cross-voting which we have seen.
You know, but Pallavi, 15 votes are invalid too. So is it part of the India bloc that these 15 votes are invalid? We do not know. The other thing is that there were a lot of YSRCP, 11 plus the independents who are about 15 or 16. Now, if those numbers, all of them voted en masse in favor of the NDA candidate, then that number breaches 452. That's what happens. And that too, so clearly something's gone wrong somewhere. There has been cross-voting. We don't know the exact numbers of cross-voting, Pallavi. But we also don't know whose votes were invalid. Now, is it possible that there could be certain India bloc votes that could have been invalidated? Because clearly the NDA votes seem to have all got it right.
Anand, yeah. And also, Anand, let's not rule out the possibility of a deliberate invalid vote. I saw that happening in the case of many important legislations right inside Parliament. There were actually evidence to prove then when that really post-mortem was done, which I think is going to take a little bit of time for that post-mortem to come in, and I'm sure government is going to start giving out that information, that very often what happens is that MPs deliberately make a mistake because they don't want to be seen as voting against the party. They don't also want to be seen as crossing the party line or the whip, but they make a mistake. And they make a mistake because of which it is held invalid, in which case it's a win-win situation. Let's not forget, as far as the NDA is concerned, it was very meticulously taught, and there was a 2-day workshop as far as all the NDA MPs were concerned. So I would not give them that kind of a mark. I would think I would give them the benefit of doubt. I think they have been very, very meticulously trained. So they do know that what are the grounds on which their votes can be made invalid. Frankly speaking, in stark contrast, Anand, I never saw this kind of a meticulous workshop being given out to the India bloc. So that invalid factor could also be some of it deliberate as well.
We'll come to the deliberate part. You said around 15, but for Payal Mehta saying about 14 MPs have cross-voted, whether in the Lok Sabha vote, they're Lok Sabha MPs, Rajya Sabha MPs, we don't know which party, but there have been 14 MPs who've cross-voted. Let's go across to Payal and understand how this could happen, especially when there were independent candidates. There were also YSRCP candidates. The NDA said about 427. The India bloc said 315. There have been one invalid vote because of the postal vote, but 15 invalid votes. Yes, Payal, 14 MPs cross-voting.
Anand, as per the calculation, it looks like 14 to 15 MPs have cross-voted. I've got Sanjay Jaiswal with me. He's been somebody who's the chief whip of the BJP and has had a crucial role to play. Sanjay ji, numbers on the expected lines?
So that will use the treatment even
Payal's audio is not very good, so he'll have to come a little closer to the screen and then speak, Payal. Let's try again.
Just give me a second. I'll hand over the microphone.
Yeah, there. Yeah, go ahead.
I was sure that we are going to win by a major margin because the kind of person they have chosen as a candidate, he has been in a lot of controversy. And because of that, many of the MPs who were with the NDA alliance, they didn't vote for it. Many of the MPs who voted for NDA alliance, still they were very much apprehensive about the background of their own candidates. So we were sure that we will be crossing 450 marks, and we got 452.
So that's what you're saying, Sanjay ji and Payal. But who could have cross-voted, or who are these invalid voters? Any thoughts there? 15 votes are invalid.
I think that Rahul Gandhi said, please vote by your conscience. So many of his supporters obeyed him and they voted by conscience, and that's why they did the invalid voting, or they voted for CP Radhakrishnan, who is 100 times better person than their own candidate.
नहीं, उन्हें मैं वोट दूं ये हो नहीं सकता, आपको मैं वोट करूं, ये मैं होने नहीं दूंगा. इस केस में आर देयर पीपल हु कुड हैव deliberately said कि चलो क्रॉस इनवैलिड ही कर देते हैं. दिस deliberate invalid voting, is that possible?
Naturally, because we were having 427 votes, we got perfectly done by 1 p.m. So we were relaxed that we have achieved our goal. It was on their side where the invalidated votes happened. It was on their side where many people thought that they should not vote a person who has been, in fact, we can brand him one of the urban Naxals. So naturally, they didn't vote it for him. They preferred to be a person of CP Radhakrishnan, whose integrity, whose calmness had attracted them.
So, 452, was that your expectation?
Yeah, we were sure that we will cross 450 marks because when we were talking one-to-one with our opposition MPs, even they had got a lot of resentment that why we have chosen this kind of person as a VP candidate.
Sanjay ji, one important part compared to 2017 and 2022, this is the time when the BJP was its weakest. But has NDA emerged the strongest? उस वक्त आपकी संख्या काफी बड़ी थी, इस वक्त संख्या कम है, पर फिर भी margin of victory is more than 150.
We are never weakest. If you realize when we bought Waqf bill, that time also we crossed 50% numbers in Lok Sabha as well as in Rajya Sabha. So we were sure that we are going to win with more than 125 margin, and we achieved that.
Well, congratulations, Sanjay Jaiswal ji. What happens next? If you can just quickly tell our viewers before we let you go.
Now, naturally, we will facilitate our Vice President candidate. He's going to 11 Akbar Road, and we are also going there to congratulate him.
Congratulations all around, Sanjay ji. Hard-fought win, and I know there's been a lot of work in the background. Payal, congratulations. You've been able to get Sanjay ji, and also a confirmation that there has been a certain amount of cross-voting, Payal. Was this on expected lines? Who are these people? Will there be a post-mortem now? Pallavi is also with us. Just quickly taking our viewers through these numbers. 452 and 300 are clearly 152 difference between the victor and the vanquished. If you were to look at these numbers, and viewers, it's important that the NDA candidate has finished stronger than expected. What does this imply? Pallavi, we'll go to Siddharth Yadav and also Nikul Patel in a bit, but yes, Pallavi and Payal. Pallavi first.
If I take the question first, and if your question is about what happens next, well, I think there's going to have to be a post-mortem within the India bloc, because I saw this through the day, and Payal will vouch for that. The kind of the campaigning which was done by the NDA, I mean, they knew the numbers were with them. They knew it was almost given that the candidate is going to win. But a 2-day workshop with the Prime Minister being there from morning to evening, it was very clear that they take every election, even where it's a foregone conclusion, very, very seriously. But look at the India bloc. I just saw one meeting of theirs taking place yesterday at the Central Hall. Today, they were very lackluster. The campaigning was not aggressive. Rahul Gandhi was missing at the meeting yesterday. It was, to use a Hindi word, a kind of khana purti, ki we have to put up a candidate, so might as well put up a candidate and make a political statement. 15 of those numbers, who are they coming in from? I'm going to get those crunching, but I can give you the first news which is coming in by way of Congress sources is that we are going to be holding a meeting to figure out whether there has indeed been a kind of a cross-voting, and there's going to be a post-mortem of it. Some in the Congress party suspect that it could have come in first of all from the DMK as well. We'll have to wait for that official confirmation from coming in, but for now I think they're all going to be in a denial mode. But Jairam Ramesh's social media post is a very clear giveaway, saying that all of our 315 MPs voted, and I congratulate them, and then only 300. And there are only 300 first preference votes. So where are those 15 votes gone in from? And that tells the story, and the real story, if I may say so, of the vice presidential
Well,
votes.
Arun Dhanta is outside Prahlad Joshi's house, 11 Akbar Road, where the action shifts to. There are celebrations going on. But Payal, this is paper ballot. Now vote chori ka ilzam to nahi laga sakte.
You know, Anand, if you remember when you were anchoring in the morning and Zaka was there, I had told Zaka knows exactly where this number really came from. You know, nothing happens in thin air. BJP doesn't leave anything to chance. You know, there are managers who've been put into the task to make sure that they make every vote count. Even yesterday also they had a detailed exercise to go through that whole drill of learning how to do mock polls as well. This is the reason why the BJP is so successful. This is the reason why the NDA is so successful. They had polling agents right from a senior veteran leader like Sanjay Jha, to of course Shrikant Shinde, to of course Ram Mohan Naidu. They were doing their duty the whole day. But the BJP was very, very confident. I do know the member of parliament in the BJP ranks who can deliver the goods whenever the party really wants. But we should not be naming him on national television for sure.
Right.
But he is somebody who's very, very reliable as well. So a big celebrations beckon today as we
But Payal, it's not about to ensure that votes are polled. In this case, perhaps did they ensure that certain votes are not polled or not counted at all? Because that's what's happened. Votes have become invalidated. There is no...
So BJD and the BRS have actually not voted. That's 11 of them. But 11 of YSR Congress MPs voted for them. That is the plus and minus figure. 15 votes invalid. Kiske votes invalid hai, yes pe bhi scrutiny karegi. BJP, even if they are victorious, will again, make sure that there is scrutiny to the last bit because they want to never leave anything to chance as well. So, even as we are speaking and even as, celebrations are going to begin at Prahlad Joshi's residence where all the leaders will gather together. There are floor managers who are currently doing the scrutiny right now. Arjuna Megwal is in here. There's, of course, Murugan who's in there. Kiran Rijiju has been, active throughout the entire day. So everybody's doing calculations just to make sure that every vote is counted and every vote is valid.
Right.
That's the kind of preparation that the NDA puts up.
Right. Payal and Pallavi, fantastic job done. Congratulations. I think the action shifts. There will be celebration that will happen. The NDA has got its candidate and that too with a thumping victory more than the actual results or the projected results. So at least 14 to 15 more votes that they have polled. They were looking at about 427. They have ended at 452. You can do the math, viewers. They are comfortably home and very well so. So 11 of YSR CP that actually took them to 438 and they've been able to add another 14 to their tally while ensuring that there are 15 invalid votes. So Nikul Patel, 315, 300 and that too paper ballot. अब तो वोट चोरी नहीं बोल सकते.
Firstly, I would like to congratulate CP Radhakrishnan ji for being elected as a Vice President of Bharat. I am very stunned to listen your taunting language regarding ballot and EVM. I think that should not be discussed at this point of time because we all know that how voting is happening in this kind of elections and what voting is happening at the electoral elections that are happening at ground levels. Secondly, yes, definitely there is a dent of around 15 votes that we are finding out right now as first preference vote to Sudershan Reddy ji, and definitely that is going to affect what right now everyone wants to say, that there is a dent in India bloc.
Yes.
But I will definitely say that without going any elections, but definitely we have tried our best to put a candidate with the best qualification, education and his credentials. But ultimately it's a winning and losing of elections and we have lost today again. But that doesn't mean that we have lost our, we can say that motive or our enthusiasm to fight against the present government.
No, but I appreciate the magnanimity, but you would also appreciate that if there are votes that have been invalidated, that is a serious issue. Along with cross-voting, yes, but votes that have been invalidated and if it has happened within the India bloc, that really brings your the entire numbers down. Siddharth Yadav, congratulations are in order for the NDA, the BJP for managing and again emerging stronger when the BJP is at its weakest in terms of the overall numbers in the last 11-12 years. But would you take this victory at 452 or would you want to know if there was anybody from the NDA who perhaps had an invalid vote or cross-voted?
No, I'm sure, Anand, with passage of time, all such details will come out. But I think I'll take this first opportunity to congratulate CP Radhakrishnan ji for being elected as the Vice President of our country. It was an anticipated victory, a much required victory. Definitely the people were also having the same aspirations as were the elected representatives. We were very confident that we'll cross the 450 mark. We did so. We have achieved the 452. Definitely details of who deliberately invalidated their vote or who cross-voted will come out, and I think it is more for the media to investigate.
How will this detail come out when it is supposed to be secret?
I'm very sure, and that is and Anand, that is why I said it is more for the media to investigate and do post-mortem of such things, and quote your sources of who invalidated their votes and who cross-voted. But for the time being, definitely it was a secret ballot, and the final tally is in front of us. 452 for NDA. CP Radhakrishnan ji is going to be the next vice president. Much congratulations to
Justice Reddy has just penned a note.
Justice
Reddy has just penned a note. Today, the MPs have rendered their verdict in the election for the office of the Vice President of India. I humbly accept this outcome with an abiding faith in the democratic processes of our great republic. This journey has been of profound honor, offering me the opportunity to stand for the values that have guided my life: constitutional morality, justice, and the dignity of every individual. Though the result is not in my favor, the larger cause we have collectively sought to advance remains undiminished. The ideological battle continues with ever greater vigor. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the leaders of the opposition parties who made me their joint candidate. Our democracy is strengthened not by victory alone, but by the spirit of dialogue, dissent, and participation. I remain committed as a citizen to upholding the ideals of equality, fraternity, and liberty that bind us together. May our Constitution continue to be the guiding light of our national life. I wish the Vice President-elect, Shri CP Radhakrishnan, the very best as he embarks upon his tenure. Signed, Justice B Sudershan Reddy. Going across to Arun Danta, celebrations all around there at 11 Akbar Road, lots of pomp and fare. What's happening next? When is the Prime Minister expected there? Arun.
Well, see, Anand, the celebrations have started here. Let me quickly show you a glimpse that on the both sides of the two gates of Prahlad Joshi's residence, you can see these dhol nagaras, and people are standing there. Two special places have been allocated to that, and in a short you can see the entire road has been sanitized, which means that you will be seeing that ministers and MPs will be reaching here very shortly to the Prahlad Joshi's residence. And then of course Prime Minister Mody is expected to reach here, Anand, somewhere around 9:15. That's what we are given to understand. So you can see that celebrations have already started, as we just heard the results being declared by PC Mody, Secretary General, and also the returning officer of these polls. 452, of course, is the number which CP Radhakrishnan has got. And also, Anand, as Prime Minister Mody yesterday in that MP's workshop very clearly said that we have to ensure that, though our victory is very clear, but we have to ensure that not even a single vote go invalid. That's the message which Prime Minister Mody gave, and he also said that if there is even a one single invalid vote, that starts different discussions altogether. So we'll have to make sure that all the votes are valid. So 427 is the number which is with NDA, and then of course with 11 of YSRCP, and then perhaps we are expecting that if everything has
Another 14, where did it come from? That's the big question, and the BJP and the NDA will be only happy about it. Jairam Ramesh has just tweeted and he says, the opposition stood united for the vice presidential election. Its performance has undeniably been most respectable. Its joint candidate, Justice B Sudershan Reddy, secured 40% of the vote. In 2022, the opposition had received 26% of the vote in the vice presidential elections. So they are trying to count the 14% bump, the opposition looking more robust now compared to 2022. The BJP's arithmetical victory is really both a moral and political defeat. Ideological battle continues undiminished. So similar to Lok Sabha 2024, they're looking for victory in defeat, whereas they're trying to show the NDA victory as a defeat in victory. Meanwhile, their Congress internally is also going to now introspect. Where did these votes get invalidated? And they believe it's the India bloc ally DMK that may have happened. These are pictures coming through, live action happening. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, also present now at 11 Akbar Road. We could see the traditional safari that he travels in just pass by along with the cavalcade. He's there. Arun Danta will confirm that. Yes, Arun.
Well, see, Anand, we haven't seen Home Minister's cavalcade as yet here, because I can see both the gates from where I'm standing. But I don't see on my camera that Amit Shah's cavalcade is entering. But of course, you can see the celebratory mood here outside the home of Prahlad Joshi. I mean, I'm trying to locate the cavalcade of Home Minister Amit Shah, but I don't find it right now. Probably he'll be reaching here very soon. But
right, so he's not yet there, but I was given to understand somebody's spotted that. But Mr. Amit Shah has actually tweeted. He said, and I'm going to read that as we get into a break. Congratulations to Shri CP Radhakrishnan ji on being elected as Vice President of India. I firmly believe that your sagacity as a leader who has risen from the grassroots of the society and profound knowledge about administration will help us in bringing out the best in our parliamentary democracy to serve the marginalized. I extend my warmest wishes to you for your journey as the custodian of the sanctity of the upper house at CPR GUE. That's his X handle. Congratulations to the Vice President-elect. We're going to take a very short break and come back with more. Stay with us.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Joining us here on CNN News 18, huge story breaking in the neighborhood. The Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who's been a sort of a semi-permanent fixture in Nepali politics over the last 30 years, he has now tendered in his resignation. His current government, I think this is his third stint in power, his current government, which was an uneasy coalition between him, the Nepali Congress, and a section of the Maoist party. It was an uneasy coalition that had been in power for the last year or so now, and now given these massive scale protests that we've seen led by young people, the trigger being of course the social media ban, but it goes far beyond that. Issues of corruption, unemployment, privileges, dynastic politics, curbs on young people speaking their mind, all of this sort of came into a deadly cocktail. It came into a deadly combination which finally ended up consuming the current Prime Minister, Mr. Oli, who has tendered in his resignation. The latest information that we have is that Mr. Oli has been given safe escort by an army chopper. Him and his immediate family members have been taken to an army barrack where they will be kept for some time. CNN News 18 broke this story first to you. We were the first ones to tell you that Mr. Oli has put in his papers. He has officially sent in his resignation to the Nepalese president, Mr. Paudel, whose resignation has now been accepted at 12:05 p.m. We told you about Mr. Oli planning to step down. It was clear earlier this morning itself. The RSP party quit, 4 ministers quit. The writing on the wall was clear as day to the Nepalese Prime Minister that he's fast losing support and he needs to step down. At 2:16 p.m. officially, KP Sharma Oli, Prime Minister of Nepal, put in his papers and stepped down as Prime Minister after being given safe passage by the military, an assurance of safe passage by the Nepal Army Chief. Let me go across to Darshan, who's a Nepali journalist, who is joining us live from Kathmandu. Darshan, so Mr. Oli, the long-serving Prime Minister of Nepal, has finally quit. Do we know where he is? He's apparently been taken in an army helicopter to some safe passage. And what happens next, Darshan? Who becomes the next Prime Minister? What is the next government going to be like? Is there any word about what is happening?
So there is a lot of protest right now. Like though I'm in a hope in a safe place right now, I can hear a lot of screaming and the cloud which is filled with the smoke. So I'm not sure which are the buildings that has been into fire, but yeah, the PM Oli finally resigned. But it's not about a new government. It's a generational war. Like I mentioned earlier, Gen Z are like crazy, and there is also a lot of riots that's happening. And there is no one to take a lead at this time. But Gen Z are also, looking after Balin to come forward to control this chaos. Because right now there are protesters inside parliamentary building, inside the Singha Darbar, where all the ministries used to handle their places, and there are also many data centers that have very critical information. And right now there is no presence of the government in the street. Nepal police and APF have already said that the situation is not in our control. So, I mean, it's chaos everywhere.
So
Right
tell
now,
me, where is
I
the
was
Nepalese
also
army? Are they protecting these sensitive installations, the parliament building, the secretariat,
all.
the houses of various ministers? We're told that choppers, military choppers, were sent to some of these houses to evacuate the ministers. What is the latest in terms of, how this story is unfolding there, and what are the demands of these young people? Because it started with the social media ban, but it seems like this is pent-up anger for a number of reasons, from corruption to unemployment.
News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. We're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. India now has a new vice president in CP Radhakrishnan. He won the election with a thumping majority, securing 452 votes, while his main opponent, Justice B Sudershan Reddy, garnered just 300 votes. From the way the votes have been polled, it is clear that there have been at least 15 votes more that the NDA candidate has managed to secure, which means about 15 cross votes have happened. Who in the India alliance has voted against the India alliance candidate and in favor of the NDA candidate? When the initial count was being talked about earlier today in the morning, the India alliance count was around 315 and the NDA count was around 427. But now it's turned out that the NDA candidate has got at least 15 votes more from the India alliance. The India alliance candidate, of course, has put out a letter thanking all the opposition parties for backing his candidature. Within the next hour, we are expecting the new Vice President of India, Mr. CP Radhakrishnan, who is going to be at the residence of Union Minister Prahlad Joshi. The Prime Minister is expected to arrive there as well, and there's already celebrations that have started at the residence of the Union Minister in anticipation for the big crowning of the Vice President, the next Vice President of India. The question also for the India alliance is who cross-voted, because it wasn't just about electing the next occupant of the Rajya Sabha chair. This was a high-stakes clash. This was pitted as a battle of ideologies. Akhilesh Yadav said this is about Antaratma ki Awaaz. Alliances were tested, loyalties were under scrutiny. Will the cross-voting, and there have been at least 15 cross-votes, will it hurt the India alliance, not just in terms of optics or numbers, but in terms of the index of opposition unity? I want to first play out what the Rajya Sabha Secretary General said while he announced the numbers and how the NDA candidate, Mr. CP Radhakrishnan, won by 452 votes as against 300 of the India bloc candidate, Justice Reddy.
Shri Buchi Reddy Sudarshan Reddy has secured 300 first preference votes and Shri CP Radhakrishnan has secured 452 first preference votes. As the first preference vote secured by Shri CP Radhakrishnan was greater than the requisite quota, in pursuance of provisions contained in Section 11 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act 1952, 31 of 1952, read with Rule 35 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Rules 1974, I, PC Mody, the returning officer for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, hereby declare that Shri CP Radhakrishnan, Jal Bhushan Raj Bhavan, Walkeshwar Road, Malabar Hill, Mumbai, has been duly elected to the office of Vice President of India.
All right, I want to go across to our reporters. First, Aman Sharma, our political editor, joining us. Pallavi Ghosh, Arun Dhanta is joining us from Prahlad Joshi's residence, where the celebrations are already underway. Aman, so at least 15 cross votes from the India alliance, which went in favor of the NDA candidate. Obviously, there'll be a lot of post-mortem and analysis as to who these 15 were. It does, put paid to this whole business of India alliance, unity, all opposition sort of converging on the candidature of Justice Reddy, because clearly there were some within the alliance who decided to break away and vote in favor of the NDA candidate.
Well, clearly, Zaka, I think there are two big game changers in the vice president election. Look at the figures first. NDA was at 427. They were assured another 11 by the YSR CP, which voted alongside the NDA. So their number went from 427 to 438. this is a coup because YSRCP, you know, coming, C. Sudershan Reddy was born in undivided Andhra Pradesh, is a Telugu, but still the YSRCP committed to the NDA that they will vote for the NDA candidate. So I think this change of heart from the YSRCP, not changing their choice even after Sudershan Reddy was announced as the candidate by the opposition parties, was I think the first game changer. The second game changer, the journey from 438 to 452. The 14 additional votes which have come to the NDA camp, this is clear cross-voting, as our colleague Payal Mehta has also put out these figures. This cross-voting, has it come from the Congress? Has it come from a constituent of the India bloc? We don't know yet. I think there'll be a lot of, allegations exchanged now inside the India bloc that where did this 14 votes go away to the NDA camp? And I think Jairam Ramesh tweet, where he put out a couple of hours ago that all 315 votes of the India bloc were cast. That shows that 15 votes are less because the opposition candidate has only got 300 votes. This will leave a lot of, I think introspection to do on the India Alliance bloc point, also about, their candidate, because their candidate has not been able to win the confidence even of the Telugu parties. BRS has abstained, YSRCP has jumped ship towards the NDA, and on the other side you have a Tamil candidate who's won, and the BJP might well say that the DMK didn't vote against the Tamil candidate. How will this play out in the Tamil Nadu elections in the next few months? I think NDA has a lot of big takeaways from this, and as I said, the two big game changers.
Okay, I also want to go across to Pallavi Ghosh. I mean, it's a secret ballot. There are no whips. Are there ways in which the opposition alliance can find out who are the cross votes? I've heard some reports that Congress is suspicious of some DMK MPs cross voting. There are some other reports suggesting that Aam Aadmi Party, which had declared its support to the India bloc candidate Justice Reddy, some of them could have cross voted. How do you know whether it is Congress MPs who cross voted, whether it is non-Congress MPs, part of the India alliance, who cross voted? How do they get a sense of this?
Well, like in any other election, the polling agents can always go up and ask for some kind of a breakup, and they also do some their own of the internal calculations. I mean, earlier in the day, even as the counting was about to begin, we had that very important post coming in from Jairam Ramesh, and I call it important because that really has ended up becoming a giveaway and a benchmark for this narrative that there was indeed a cross-voting, because he says, I congratulate the fact that all 315 MPs voted. They came and they voted. So there was no absentees as far as them are concerned. There are 15 invalid votes, but there are also 15 gap between the numbers who turned up to vote and the final vote, first preference votes as far as Sudershan Reddy is concerned. So who are those 15 people? And even those invalid votes, was it deliberately done? Because there have been several elections when we have been privy to it, when we've covered elections both inside and outside Parliament. And I would say I remember the Women Reservation Bill, the one which was brought in by the UPA government under Sonia Gandhi. I remember at that point of time, there were deliberate mistakes which were made so that the vote becomes invalid, because they didn't want the fact to be exposed that they were not in favor of the Women Reservation Bill. So these things do happen, but these things will happen and come out in the post-mortem. Prima facie, when I did speak to the top Congress sources, they said we were feeling all along there could be a certain amount of cross-voting which takes place, maybe possibly a couple from the DMK, also coming in from the Aam Aadmi Party, and they're also going to cross-check whether the AIMIM indeed ended up voting for Sudershan Reddy or not.
Okay, I also want to go across to Arun Danta. He's at Prahlad Joshi's residence where the celebrations are already underway. What is expected in the next hour or so? I believe the Prime Minister will also be joining the celebrations there. Has the next Vice President already arrived? When is he expected to arrive? And what can we expect over the next hour and a half or so?
Well, Zaka, the celebrations have already started here, and laddu distribution is also taking place. We're given to understand that all the BJP MPs will be coming here at Prahlad Joshi's residence in a short while from now, and CP Radhakrishnan, of course, will be meeting them and thanking them for their support. And Prime Minister Mody, we're given to understand, is reaching here somewhere around 9:15, 9:30. Let me quickly give you a glimpse at how they are prepared here. There are three this kind of stages have been made outside the residence of CP Joshi, on which you will be seeing, of course, traditional dance being performed. And as and when you will see activity, the MPs and the ministers start coming here, you will see all of them, getting into the groove and, just start celebrating here as Prime Minister Mody and BJP, of course, is expecting that all their, 427, including NDA MPs, have voted, and they all are valid, because Prime Minister Modi's message, Zaka, was very clear yesterday in that 2 days workshop of BJP, that we'll have to ensure, though we know that CP Radhakrishnan is going to win, but still we'll have to ensure that every vote is valid, and therefore, they have to ensure this, because if even a single vote is invalid, then you have a different, talks, started happening around that. So we'll have to ensure that every vote is valid, and that's what government is saying at this point, that their 427 MPs voted and all of them are valid. So therefore, if you go by that calculation, then probably there'll be 14 who cross-voted. Who were they, from which party? That's something which we'll get to know. But of course, here outside the residence of Prahlad Joshi, everything is decked up. Now we will be seeing in a short while from now MPs and senior ministers reaching here, and then of course Prime Minister Mody.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Arun Danta, Pallavi Ghosh, Aman Sharma, for joining us. I want to open this up to our guests who are joining us tonight. Look, the numbers were never really in contention, in as much as this was going to be a clean and straight win for the NDA candidate. Even if only NDA MPs voted, at the very least he would have got 427. Now he's ended up with 452. Which means some degree of support has come from other parties, including parties in the India Alliance, or at least individual MPs within the India Alliance. So who did the cross-voting? And this whole campaign that we've seen over the last many weeks and months about vote chori and all of that, what happens to that? Because these were not conducted on EVMs. There's no election commission here. These were ballot paper elections, old-fashioned ones, and yet 15 people who belong to the India Alliance have cross-voted. So let's find out. Aditya Khera is a spokesperson of the BJP. Matthew Anthony, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Smita Prakash, editor of ANI, is joining us. Smita, like I said, it's not just about optics or numbers. The numbers were clearly in favor of the NDA candidate. But the fact that the India Alliance candidate got 15 votes less than what their own leaders were claiming, that is something that will be a matter of introspection. But can they really find out? And how will they find out? Who are these cross-voters?
Well, I think it's supposed to be a secret ballot, of course, but these political parties have means to figure out as to what happened actually. I think the BJP, as usual, they managed the outcome skillfully. They deployed political negotiations as a tool. Several regional parties that are not formally part of the NDA, which your reporters pointed out, BJD, YSRCP, Akali Dal, they chose to abstain. But so when you choose to abstain, what happens is that it lowers the threshold of the required votes that the BJP needed, their candidate needed. But the interesting part which you point out is the invalid votes, which is so strange. What happened? The ink dried up or something? There were these courses which were conducted, or did the consciousness come into play, this antaratma come into play? What was the cross-voting for? Interestingly, the BJP framed the election less as a contest of ideology and more as in, parliamentary efficiency, persuading the fence-sitters, avoiding open confrontation. And the opposition, despite what Mr. Jairam Ramesh says, they just failed to mount a sustained campaign. Pallavi has been talking about that in all your bulletins. There was disunity, maybe not regarding the choice of candidates, but just, lethargic interest in the candidate. It was left to him to call up the Dravidian parties and tell them that, vote for me, I'm from the south, galvanize support. It was a limited outreach to regional parties. Besides that, it was just lethargic. The entire campaign was, the leader of the opposition was missing from action in the past few days in the run-up. So, it was all left for the BJP to dictate the terms, and it exposed once again that, the opposition is unable to translate the outrage it has into some kind of an effective strategy to win.
I want to ask Matthew Anthony, the candidate, this whole thing about, oh, Telugu pride, therefore we'll get TDP to vote for him. You know, all three Telugu parties, BRS abstained, YSRCP voted in favor of the NDA candidate, TDP also voted in favor of the NDA candidate. It's probably the first time that, you know, two parties that are so bitterly at loggerheads with each other voted for the same candidate. You know, you are not even able to convince those parties, Matthew Anthony. How are you going to convince the whole country about this whole campaign you've been undertaking for the last many months now about vote chori? What happened? There's no vote chori. If any vote chori has happened, it's 15 of your MPs have cross-voted in favor of the NDA candidate.
Saka, how can you be so predetermined when you have 15 votes which are invalid? So we don't know the facts right now. We got 315, we got 300 out of that. And 315 is there. There is 15 votes which are invalid. We actually don't know, you know, we need to find out. You know, so you can't be so predetermined.
No, one second. No, the numbers are, Jairam Ramesh claimed 315 of the opposition MPs have shown up and they've all voted. Now, your candidate did not get 315. Your candidate got only 300. The 15 invalid votes are outside of those, which means those 15 invalid can come from NDA also, can come from neutral parties also, can come from India Alliance also. That's outside of the 15 less that your candidate has got. Your candidate has got 15 less, which means where did those 15 go?
No, do you have that information where the 15 invalids are from all other ones?
No. One second. Again, don't confuse our viewers. There were 15 others that are invalid, which is not the same 15 that your candidate did not get. Your candidate got, we do know, your candidate got 15 less than what your own leaders claimed.
See, that's what I'm saying, you know, to the records. I don't know who they have voted for.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Some of your folks have voted for the other guy.
You know, they have voted for somebody else, and I'm saying, you know, there are 15 invalid ones. So we don't have a clear information about it. So how can you say that the whole 15 is not ours? Or, you know, the whole 15 is ours as well? How can you make a claim that...
Because that would mean if all 15 invalid are yours, then the other 15 should have come to your kitty. The other 15 did not come to your kitty. So where is that other 15?
I don't know at this point of time.
See, that's what I'm saying.
To analyze the numbers. We're going to analyze the numbers. I don't know at this point of time because, you know, the results came out just now, 10 minutes back or 15 minutes back.
Anyway, no, my point is simply this. You pitched this whole thing as an ideological fight. The word that Akhilesh Yadav used this morning when Pallavi spoke to him is, ye antaratma ki ladai hai. What is the antaratma, yaar? I mean, 15 guys have gone and voted for the other chap. What antaratma are you talking about?
So, a vice president election, we have very clearly maintained from the very beginning that's an ideological battle. And why is this ideological battle? It's against the constitutional breach which the BJP government has been doing this for the last 12 years. And the hijacking of the institutions, starting from the judiciary to the constitutional body of the election commission. That's a vote chori which we are making.
So there is no election commission in this election?
No, not in this election.
We are not conducting this election.
We are
the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha Secretariat was conducting this election.
Saka, let me.
So they are also compromised. Lok Sabha Secretariat is compromised. Rajya Sabha Secretariat is compromised.
If at all you want to interfere, then I'll stop.
No, I'm asking you.
Let me just complete it.
There's no election commission in this election, right? So then who is the institution that is compromised?
No, I am saying about the opposition campaign and why is this an ideological battle. We continue with our vote chori campaign about the election commission being compromised for the elections in the states as well as the Lok Sabha. We put up evidences there, and there is absolute silence. There is no debate on that from the other side.
No EVMs. Good old fashioned ballot. Okay, Prime Minister Mody has just tweeted. One second. Prime Minister Mody has tweeted. 1 second, please. Congratulations to CP Radhakrishnan for winning the 2025 Vice Presidential election. His life has always been devoted to serving society and empowering the poor and marginalized. I am confident that he will be an outstanding VP who will strengthen our constitutional values and enhance parliamentary discourse. Radhika Kera, I come back to that point about, you know, no EVMs, no election commission. And yet vote chori happens, and Matthew Anthony and Jairam Ramesh have all been saying that Akhilesh Yadav, this is ideological. So those 15 guys who cross-voted clearly don't believe in any ideology. That's why they cross-voted.
Jai Hind. First of all, let me extend my congratulations to Shri CP Radhakrishnan ji on this emphatic victory as the Vice President of India. Winning with 452 votes against 300 is not just a margin, it's a mandate, and one that speaks volumes about the strength and unity of the NDA. Now, like you were talking over here, that they could not convince the others. Well, Zaka, they couldn't convince their own. 15 have either cross-voted or something has gone wrong. They couldn't even keep their own tabbar together. Now, if you see, they've made this entire drama for the past 11 years. They said EVM chori ho gaya. They said vote chori ho gaya, vote chor gaddi chor. Now they will start crying that MP chori ho gaya. Fact is that their own people, unki antaratma jaag gayi, and there were certain MPs also from the India Alliance, who I think even Pallavi spoke to, and lots of people spoke to, and they said that हम मन की बात सुनते हैं, सबने अपनी मन की, maybe they were those 15 only जिन्होंने मन की बात सुनी. But having said that, if you see the entire day today, the India Alliance MPs, one thing that I noticed, Zaka, today, that the India Alliance MPs were going on, whether it was the AAP MP, whether it was from the MPs from Shiv Sena, they were all talking about Nepal and all warning that this could be happening in India. Well, Nepal actually happened in the India Alliance today. They could not keep their own people together, and we've seen that whether it is the India Alliance people, whether it is those who are not a member of the NDA.
So I have the breakup. And I want our guests to pay attention to this and our viewers to pay attention to this. Out of the 15 invalid votes, the breakup is as follows: 10 of those 15 invalid votes were NDA. And 5 of those invalid votes were of that of the opposition, which means that the opposition had 5 invalid, the NDA had 10 invalid. Had Mr. Radhakrishnan got these 10 more, his tally would have been 462 instead of 452. And Mr. Justice Reddy's tally would have been 305 instead of 300. So, which means this whole idea that the 15 who cross-voted are not necessarily the cross votes, there could be invalid votes, that has been negated, Matthew Anthony. Out of the 15, 10 invalids were NDA, 5 invalids were opposition. And by the way, our reporters are also saying that the assessment seems to be, both from the government side and from the Congress side, that there could be 1 or 2 MPs from DMK, Shiv Sena UBT and Aam Aadmi Party who cross-voted. That's how it adds up to 15. And the invalids, as you said, are not all yours. In fact, it's almost a 2:1 ratio. 10 invalid from NDA and 5 invalid from the opposition. So there you go, Mr. Matthew Anthony.
Can I come in, Saka?
Yes, please.
So, first of all, I didn't say that the entire 15 is ours. I said no, we don't know. Even the numbers which you're saying right now is quoted from sources. We don't have an official. These are all kind of sources which are saying. I don't know whether you have an official information from the Rajya Sabha election office of this. So we are speculating these numbers. We are speculating the sources. I don't want to qualify these comments on that.
No, 1 second. No, there will be no official this thing on it because this is a secret ballot. No, you can't say MPX or MPY or MPZ.
I said neither you nor me.
It's calculations made by political parties, including your own, Mr. Anthony.
Yes,
Congress sources have told Pallavi Ghosh that they suspect 1 or 2 MPs from Sena UBT, DMK and AAP possibly cross-voted.
Sources may have given it out, but let it come officially. As a spokesperson, I am sitting here and I am not saying that, no, I don't have any official information on that one.
Okay.
And I have to qualify the official statements on that.
We have the President's tweet as well. Congratulations to Shri CP Radhakrishnan being elected as the Vice President of India. Your decades of rich experience in public life will contribute significantly to the nation's progress. I extend my best wishes to you for a successful and impactful tenure. Radhika Khera, again, Congress.
I have a question.
Yeah, yes, please.
I have a question. I have a tweet here of Ms. Supriya Shinate, who's the social media head of the Congress. It's right here. And she's tweeted the photo of Prime Minister voting in the presidential elections and saying, ye chune ballot paper se. So, inka chunav ballot paper se kyo nahi? So, I would like to ask the Congress spokesperson, you just lost an election to the ballot also. You've lost elections to the EVM. You've lost elections to the ballot. Now, what are you going to cry? How do you want the next elections to be? If EVM, you're losing. Ballot, you're losing. You're not even able to keep your MPs together. जो भी हुआ है 15 वोट तो आपकी कम हुई हैं. The fact is that you people, your own people are not believing in you. Your alliance is not together, and you are going and fighting and blaming the Bharatiya Janata Party and the NDA, and you are degrading the post of the Prime Minister by again and again saying vote
fundamentally, I said this in the morning, and I say this again, Smita Prakash. I think the opposition is missing a trick by picking up an issue which No one's saying it's not a serious issue. Of course, it's a serious issue. We all need clean electoral rolls. They are the foundation of any integral election process. But that's not the point. The point is it a livelihood issue? Is it an issue that has resonance with people's livelihoods? Jobs are, inflation is, unemployment is. All of these are issues that affect people's lives. I'm not sure that SIR and people being deleted from voter rolls is exactly something that every person feels so passionately about that you think it's a vote determinant issue. Is it a vote determinant issue? I don't know. I really don't think it's an issue that moves the needle. But the Congress has been going on and on and on about it. That even Rahul Gandhi led that 15-day, 16-day Padyatra. The entire thing was on SIR. But is it really moving the needle in Bihar? I don't know. Smita Prakash.
We won't know, right? They picked up Rafale, if you remember, about the Rafale aircraft. Did it matter to people because you buy an aircraft if there's corruption? So, you really don't know what actually moves people. But this election, of course, we're a country which is obsessed with elections. So, whether it's a constitutional club election or this election, it will be, vice presidential election, it will be discussed threadbare as to what went wrong. I'm sure these invalid votes in the NDA will have Mr. Amit Shah's team working very hard overnight as to that despite having these classes which they had to explain, workshops to explain how to vote, in spite of that there have been these invalid votes. So why? So there'll be a lot of soul searching on that too. But winning this election, Zaka, was important for the BJP because it consolidates the party's domination in both houses of parliament, and they need that. The vice president's post is not just ceremonial. The proceedings of the house, the conduct of the debates, managing disruptions, steering the bills, that's all important. So securing this office was doubly important, especially after what we saw with what happened with Jagdeep Dhankar when he started acting with independent agency.
One second.
So the BJP wanted procedural.
This tweet that you're seeing on the right, I hope you can all see our screens. This tweet is from the official Congress party handle. Tweeted just 1 hour ago, by the way. Just 1 hour ago, just moments before the results came, and it says Man Ki Baat. It has a picture of the Prime Minister behind a bunch of curtains trying to come out, and it says fill in the blanks, main vote dash hoon. Obviously, they are hinting at vote chor hoon. Now, please tell me, kisne vote chori ki, Matthew Anthony? Who stole 15 votes? I mean, who cross-voted 15 votes?
So, Saka, first of all, I'm kind of a bit shocked about a leading journalist talking about that, the vote chori is not a matter of a concern for the countrymen. But it's not something which affects. What we are saying is the fundamental aspect of the vote.
Did I say that? I'm sorry. Please don't misrepresent. Please don't misrepresent.
Not
I didn't
you.
say it is not.
Not
Zaka,
you.
please. I didn't say that.
No, he's talking about me. I think is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm talking about you, sir.
No, I continue to maintain that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm saying that, when we are sitting in good AC offices and, very comfortable life, and then our right is being kind of taken away and it is being manipulated, and that is used for a dictatorship, an undeclared emergency, that is a cause of concern. And that is for a political party, for an ideological battle to fight for the constitution of this country. And, that is really shocking to see from a very senior journalist like you to say that it is not concerning.
One second. My point was, okay, 65 lakh names have been deleted from Bihar, right? That's the official tally from the Election Commission. Those 65, one second. Those 65 lakh people have a chance. They had a month-long time to again appeal to the Election Commission, move courts, whatever it is, to try and get their names back on the list. Now, my point is, there's a remaining 7 crore odd who are your majority electors in Bihar, whose life it does not affect because they are there in the electoral rolls. For them, this is not an issue. Nobody is taking away their votes. So you have basically made the number one issue in this election an issue that concerns less than 10% of the electorate of Bihar who are not on the voter rolls, and the remaining 90% who are on the voter rolls don't care about this issue because it does not affect their lives. Their names are there in the list. That's what I meant. You've picked up an issue that does not matter to 90% of the electorate of that state.
I'm coming to you. So, you're speaking specifically about Bihar. We are speaking about a country-wide hijacking of the electoral rolls. We spoke about a specific constituency in Karnataka. Then we spoke about Maharashtra earlier. We are coming to speak about Haryana later. So we are saying that the election commission, the electorate role of the election commission is being hijacked. That's exactly, and that's a concern.
Anyway, Radhika Kera, go ahead.
We have also addressed the GST
the conflation of, let's take the Mahadevpura example, right? Rahul Gandhi's contention was 1 lakh extra voters have been added. Fake voters, absentee voters, all kinds of voters. That is one thing to allege, but to say that extra 1 lakh all voted for the BJP is completely, completely jumping the gun. But anyway, Radhika Kera, final word. And
let me respond to two things very quickly.
Quickly.
First, the Congress spokesperson is talking about an undeclared emergency. Well, sir, after the tweet that the Congress just did with the Prime Minister's photo, after the tweet of Supriya Shene, if this was the emergency of Indira Gandhiji's time, both would be in jail, and so would be the man who called for Boti of the Prime Minister, who's an MP who works with Priyanka Vadra ji, and also all those MPs who sat outside the Indigo plane and said ki Modi teri kabar khudengi. Having said that, second thing, you're talking about vote chori in Haryana. Boss, you haven't even elected your leader of opposition in the last 11 months. 11 months ho chuke hain chunav hue hue. You don't have a leader of opposition and you're talking about vote chori. Your minister, Mr. Rajanna, was removed from power because he exposed Rahul Gandhi's claim that all this was during the Congress government, and it is the Congress to blame for this. So this is the real emergency which continues, the same emergency mindset within the Congress.
I got to leave it at that. I got to leave it at that. I want to go to the other story, which is a huge story happening right in our neighborhood, and it has huge ramifications for us here in India as well. There were fairly unprecedented scenes in Nepal over the last couple of days, but today was something astounding. A Gen Z revolution, as they're calling it. These were protests that were led by young people over a host of issues. There was corruption, there was unemployment, there were these political Nepo kids, as they are known. The trigger, of course, was the social media ban, which then was later revoked. Earlier this morning, the Nepal government revoked that social media ban, but eventually these unprecedented protests have taken down not just the current Prime Minister, CP Sharma Oli, who was forced to resign. It has also targeted all the prevailing figures of the political establishment of the day, whether it's former Prime Ministers like Mr. Dioba, Mr. Prachanda, etc. In fact, the Finance Minister in Mr. Oli's government was chased down in the road outside his house. He was chased down and attacked. A former Prime Minister's wife was burned to death inside her own house. There was palpable anger on the streets of Kathmandu and other cities at the social media ban, which was a very inept and a ham-handed move to do by the KP Oli government. And then they withdrew that given the kind of unprecedented sort of protest that we saw. But I think the real tipping point, and no one expected this, was the killing of the 19 children, the 19 students, many of them, and we spoke to eyewitnesses who said that many of those kids were minors, they were wearing school uniforms, and they had their ID cards out. And yet, the police, the law enforcement shot them dead, and 19 of them died. That had become a complete turning point in these protests, because up until then, it was about social media, it was about corruption, it was about a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of grievances. But when those kids were killed, it became that this government has to go. The political establishment has to go. And today, the anger that started from the killing of those students, it felled a 4-term Prime Minister in Mr. Oli. The army chief will be addressing the nation. He's asking for peace and calm. There could likely be some kind of an interim caretaker government, and eventually there will be elections. But we have seen this script play out. We saw this in Colombo 2 years ago. We saw this in Dhaka last year. And now we're seeing this in Kathmandu. The question is, what happens next? But I want to play out some of the pictures, some of the most dramatic pictures that happened today. And I want to go across to our video wall. First, there was arson at Mr. Kanal. He's a former Prime Minister, his residence. His wife, who was inside, unfortunate to be stuck inside the house, was burnt alive to death. This is the residence of former Prime Minister Jalanath Kanal. His wife was inside. She sustained severe injuries, and then by the time they took her to hospital, she was pronounced dead. Ex-Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba, the leader of the Nepali Congress, look at him, he's bleeding from his forehead. His wife, who is a foreign minister, was also attacked, Arzu Rana Deuba. Both of them assaulted by the protesters. Footage showing Mr. Deuba there coming out with bloodstains and bleeding from his face, bleeding from his forehead. This was in the aftermath of the attack at his residence. Then you have the current finance minister in the outgoing government of Mr. Oli, Bishnu Prasad Paudel, who was seen running on the streets. That's the man You can see him in a shirt and in his white vest being kicked, being dragged, being hit on the head, being put down onto the ground. As he was trying to run for cover, he's beaten black and blue. These Gen Z protesters broke into the parliament, into the Supreme Court, into the central secretariat of the Nepal government. They set fire to every one of these buildings. Any building that represented sort of the seat of power or the official establishment in Nepal was vandalized and set on fire. Basically, this was rage against the existing political dispensation, which completely went into the territory of lawlessness. Let's listen into what the protesters were saying. They're largely young people. They are in their 20s, in their early 30s. What did they want, and why did things come to such a pass that they were willing to set buildings on fire? They were willing to physically assault some of the leading politicians in the country.
ये देश हमारा है, ये जिंजी लोग का देश है, ये नेता लोग सब भाग गया, ये नेता लोग काम चोर है, भ्रष्टाचारी है, और ये देश के लिए ये जिंजी ने 2 दिन में सब कुछ कर दिया। ये इस नेता सब ने हमारा 19 वर्ष खा दिया, और अब हम लोग का प्रधानमंत्री होना चाहिए, और अब हम ये पार्टी का नेता नहीं मानते हैं।
आज हमारे नेपाल में संसद भवन ने पूरे जनता ने मिलके, जेनजी ने मिलके आज आग लगा दिया है। कल नेपाल पुलिस ने जितना ज्यादा किया ना, कल कमती में 19 लोगों को, स्टूडेंट को नेपाल पुलिस ने गोली मारा, चुन के गोली मारा उसने। ये जो हुआ है ना, ये इतना कुछ ये सोशल बैंडिंग के लेके नहीं हुआ है। हम लोगों को चाहिए यूथ लीडर चाहिए।
अब ये जो पुराना लोग है ना, वो कोई नहीं चला सकता है। अब युवक चाहिए, युवक चाहिए। अब युवक ये चलाएगा, ये पुराना जितना है वो सब बाइकाट।
जैसे ही नेपाल के प्रधानमंत्री ने इस्तीफा दिया, उसके बाद आप देख सकते हैं हालात और ज़्यादा बदतर हो गए हैं। और इस वक्त हम एक हाई राइज बिल्डिंग पर खड़े हुए हैं, और यहाँ से मेरे कैमरा पर्सन युगल आपको सीधी तस्वीर दिखाएंगे। देखिए, बिल्कुल मेरे सामने ये पार्लियामेंट है जो धू करके पूरी तरह से जल रहा है, और ये बाजू में एक होटल है और एक बैंक है, ये पूरी तरह से जल गया। ये बिल्कुल एक्सक्लूसिव तस्वीरें हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं, जान जोखिम में डाल के, क्योंकि नीचे उग्र प्रदर्शनकारी हैं। लोगों का गुस्सा शांत नहीं हो रहा है। लोग भ्रष्टाचार और जो करप्शन था उससे यहाँ पर त्रस्त हो चुके थे, और उनका लगातार कहना था कि जो यहाँ की सरकार है उसने युवाओं के बारे में कोई सुध नहीं ली, और जो करप्शन का मुद्दा था वो इतना ज्यादा
All right, massive protests. We haven't seen these kind of protests even in 2005-06 when there were protests against the monarchy, even in the 1990s when there was protests out in the streets of Nepal. This is something that in 2 days, in less than 48 hours, a 4-term Prime Minister was ousted. Akhilesh Upadhyay is a columnist and a former editor with the Kathmandu Post. He's joining us live. Prabesh Subedi is a freelance journalist, also joining us live from Kathmandu. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow with the Observer Research Foundation, and Smita Prakash, editor of ANI. Let me start with you, Mr. Upadhyay. You know, initially, yesterday at least, the impression seemed to be that this was around the social media ban and, young people were venting their frustration. How did it go from that to what we saw today? I mean, it was utter chaos, all, government buildings, most of them being burnt down, former prime ministers and ministers being physically and violently attacked. How did it turn? How did it become this?
I mean, to be honest, I am here in Kathmandu trying to make as much sense, struggling to make, as you are in Delhi. First of all, I qualify that with all my humility. I don't know. I mean, one of the things that perhaps happens in these times of utter changes, not just in Nepal historically, is people go from one extreme to another. Don't forget all the social media platforms were shut off. I mean, until yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you hear some of the odd sounds in the background? Yeah, that's very close to my home. I'm hoping it's not too bad. In any case, okay? So the protest yesterday was one of the young kids, as you put it, trying to tell the world that this is not done. This is extreme political nepotism, corruption, and also extreme neglect of the common man, And there was hope that as they went to bed in the night, these students or kids or young protesters, Gen Z, that some calm would return in the morning. At least the party bigwigs must have thought along those lines or hoped along those lines. It didn't quite happen that way. It went to the other direction. I was at the Prime Minister KP Oli, ousted Prime Minister KP Oli, UML's headquarters today, and it was surrounded by thousands of people, thousands of young protesters, and several footages of yours showed that there was vandalism all around.
Yeah.
This really continued until his resignation. But I also saw, kind of there, how would I say, some calm return. The protesters, same protesters who were surrounding the Prime Minister's office, later I saw them right by my across street turning into a victory rally, kind of like calm, chilled. So I'm hoping that that would be more the case. But that said, the situation is a little more, I don't want to use the word complicated, perhaps will take time to soak in.
Okay.
Yeah, and as we talk now, my sources say, I'm not 100%, the president, Ramchandra Paudel, Balen Saha, Kathmandu's mayor, and perhaps RSP, Rashtriya Swatantra Party president,
Yeah.
Ravi Lamisane, have been asked by the president to visit Sital Niwas for, I don't know, some kind of early talks, very early talks on political transition.
So let me ask Mr. Subedi this. What everybody wants to know is what happens next. I've been hearing since early afternoon, the mayor of Kathmandu, apparently very popular among young people, rapper turned politician Balendra Shah. And I've also heard about this gentleman, Mr. Lamchane, who I believe was in prison up until earlier today and was released from jail. Are these now the people who will take Nepal forward? Do they have support amongst the young Gen Z protesters who have been out on the streets for the last couple of days? And what do we know about these two individuals?
Actually, we don't have that clear picture yet. As Mr. Upadhyay already said, it's simply the breakout of frustration has been for a long time among the people, especially young generation. So there is no proper plans and proper ideology guiding this sort of thing. So we cannot say how the movement move ahead.
No, but what do the protesters then want? Obviously, I spoke to some of these young kids in the afternoon, and one of the girls said, and I thought which was quite pertinent, is that of the 19 kids who were shot dead, a large number of them were apparently under 18, wearing their school uniform, had their ID cards out on their necks, and no one quite thought, and I think one of them said, not even in 62, 63 were school kids killed like this, and that's what really triggered the mobs today. So what is it that these protesters now want?
It's clear that there was a big dissatisfaction with the ruling government, not only with the ruling one, also with the all political parties. But the frustration is collected somewhere in the one point, but there are many ideologies, many interest groups are involved for the same, showing the frustration. That's why who leads and what happens next is not clear yet. You see, Nepal army is trying to facilitate the process to form the new government, but actually the army in Nepal is not typically known as a political, direct political actor. So as Upadhyay said, the president is trying from his part as he can, but we still have to wait to see what happens next.
So Sushant Sareen, I don't know why I have this almost feeling of deja vu. We saw a similar script play out in Bangladesh last year. Again, it was the army chief who came in. There was an interim government. The rage was basically young people. There was shooting of some of them. Some of them got killed in police firing. And then, the establishment there, which was always Awami League and then BNP, completely the rage was against the establishment. We saw something similar in Sri Lanka too a few years ago. Why are we seeing this script play itself out in India's neighborhood?
Actually,
Yeah, Sushant, please. Yeah, thank you. Oh dear, we've lost the audio with Sushant. We'll try and fix that in just 1 second. Smita, you want to take that?
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, but what we have seen in the past 30 years is protests and instability, and this time it does seem that it is organic in nature. But you can't deny that what one of the persons that you spoke in from Nepal, who said that there are several interest groups involved out here. So there could be international players as well as national players, and Nepal standing at crossroads, teetering between reform, chaos, interest groups, frustration of the youth, which have really frustrated that 14 governments in just 17 years. So democracy is just not getting hold, and the young are frustrated. They don't remember what their older generation talk about the stability of the during the Raja's period and things like that. They don't know about that. What they can only see is corruption, factionalism, weak institutions, and politicians just recycling themselves all the time, with no accountability, whereas their children seem to be having a great life, posting these pictures on Facebook, showing that they are holidaying in Switzerland. So that's why you saw Nepo kids and things like that being hashtagged. And so, when you talk about are there interest groups, there could be. There could be China playing a role, there could be Americans playing a role, there could be so many who are seeing their strategic rivalries playing out, like they played out in Sri Lanka, like they played out in Bangladesh, and they played out probably in Indonesia also, and that could be happening in Nepal. But at present, it's not clear. Right now, it just seems like angry and digital savvy young generation out there, wanting to topple a government, but no roadmap ahead as to how they're going to resolve this. Now.
Is it too simplistic to suggest that the same pattern is played out in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and other countries, or do you genuinely see that there is some kind of a vested interest at play, some kind of international interest at play? Because obviously from country to country there could be local factors as well. This Nepo kids thing I found quite interesting, because it's the first time I'm hearing something like that in a South Asian country, where youngsters have come out and said Nepo kids are having it great, but we are not.
But that's true for all countries, Zaka. That there is a lot of disgust. We've seen that in India. In India, it manifests itself in the kind of electoral verdicts that we saw in 2014. That forget about these Nepo kids. We want a completely different leadership, and we got one, right? Because there was a lot of disgust even in India that just because you're the son or grandson or great grandson or great grandson of somebody, and just because you think that your nose resembles your grandmother, you deserve a position in the government. It's not on. So there is a lot of disgust even in India, and I suppose among all generations across the world with Nepo kids. But there are other organic factors. I think some of it my colleagues on the panel have listed out. Smita has spoken about corruption and the kind of musical chairs that was going on in Nepal. Completely feckless governance. There was virtually no governance. It was almost like everybody was only interested in the political machinations on how to come back into power, and Oli being emblematic of that. So there was a lot of problems out there. Now, in this mix, there could be vested interest. But I think what happened over the last 2 days is very different from what has happened in some of the other countries, in the sense that, at least in Nepal, in the previous agitations that toppled governments, you had somebody leading those agitations.
Yeah.
There was a political leadership which was leading the agitation and which was able to pave a transition. This time it is leaderless, number one. Number two, what is going to be the transition? Because where is the political leadership left? Every single major political party, we've seen what has happened to them on the streets of Kathmandu today, right? They literally are fleeing with their lives, and some of them have lost, unfortunately, their life. Their houses are being burned down. Now, even if supposing you were to go into fresh elections, who will fight those elections? And the guys who are trying to step in right now, do they have the political capital, a pan-Nepal appeal? Remember, Nepalese politics is also pretty fragmented, which is why you don't get clear verdicts. Will you get a clear verdict now if you go into an election? What will the leadership be like? What are the new plans they have? It is one thing to do rabble rousing through rap music, right? But it is quite another to run an administration and to deliver the people what you are promising.
So, Mr. Upadhyay is shaking his head. I think Sushant has a point in as much as when the protests happened against the monarchy, there were already established political parties, and then, of course, the Maoists came out and they formed a political party. And then when this move happened towards a constitutional republic, again, there were leaders who were leading that, right? Now, there are two names I keep hearing. One is Balen Shah, the other is this Mr. Lamchane. My point is, do they have pan-Nepal, popularity and organizational structure, not just voters who will vote for them, but a political party that will go out there and campaign and convert this anger into a democratic exercise of, going out there and casting votes. I mean, both are said to be in their 30s is what I'm given to understand. And
Yes.
not from established political parties.
Okay, good questions again. I would put it this way, let's not forget that every individual, no matter how young, has a personal agency. And it has to start somewhere. So BJP's history in the 90s, how many seats did it have? Where is it now? I would ask Indian viewers to look into it and not be so dismissive so quickly to the agencies that are like shaping up in the neighborhood. That would be pretty, I would say, standard response from a big neighbor. Some of you very bright people. One. Two, I'm not condoning violence at all. I can hear the gunshots probably. If anyone is nervous among the audience here, it's Mr. Subedi and I, right?
Yeah.
But you have to hope, right? If you believe in democracy, you have to hope, and also you have to believe in constitutional process. So this idea that a party given doesn't have a pan-Nepal perception comes with such a preconceived notion that all parties start mature without any history, But it is these defining moments that make a small party big, fast, overnight, and the leaders are born in times of crisis.
No, I just want to give you the examples of, let's just take the subcontinent itself, right? In Sri Lanka, eventually the person and the political party that benefited is currently the president of that country, but he was an established political party. In Bangladesh, the problem is that even after a year after the previous establishment was thrown out, they've not been able to find a consensus. They've not been able to even hold elections because the existing political establishment, the trust with it was so low, or the young people were fed up with that establishment, that they decided to throw it out lock, stock and barrel. The same thing is happening in Nepal. Every prime minister of any kind of political hue or stripe, whether you're a Nepali Congress politician or a Maoist politician or a UML politician, everybody's been targeted. So what's left? I don't see anything other than a political vacuum. What comes into that vacuum? That's the question.
Okay, there is always a question that the political vacuum will remain.
Yeah.
Not going to kind of like forecast and say it's going to be all stable within few months or few days or weeks, But there is also every possibility that new generation fed up with sustained political stability, not just new generation. I'm hardly a new generation, as you can see, but there is in these, I was talking to a lady yesterday.
Okay.
Young 24, 25-year protester in scooter. Yeah. And she said this to me: I have never seen a cohorts of this size in my life, and we don't even belong to the same geography. So you know what I mean, right?
Okay.
So I don't know what's going to coalesce, but I would like to think there is distinctly a scenario, where this would happen. The second point, yes, it is organic, as Smita rightly put it. There is a possibility that there are vested interest groups in this, like such a large-scale protest. Points taken. And the idea that 1990 protests were led by parties, just as the 2006 another mass movements, and this is not, makes also this protest very unique and is a product of how would I put it, social media platforms.
Okay. Sushant, so if we all want to hope, and we all want our version of ideal politics. But here's the thing. So I'll give the final word to Sushant, because I also have to wrap up. Is that what Mr. Upadhyay is saying is, if this goes right, this could be the equivalent of the Arab Spring in Nepal. This could be Nepal's spring.
Zaka, you know how the Arab Spring worked out, right? You know that. Now, I can understand if Mr. Upadhyay is being optimistic. Yes, why not? But look, the analogy which he gives is wrong. The BJP started in the 1950s as Bharatiya Janata, and it took decades to reach a point where it finally got a subject on which it could actually start winning elections. And even then, it took them about 12 years to win elections. The only closest example we have is a party like Aam Aadmi Party, which took about 2 or 3 years. And look, you know what a hash they have made of things, especially in Punjab, and not that they did a very good job in Delhi. I think the best chief minister Delhi had was Sheila Dikshit. So there is certainly that problem out there. And the problem is also going to be that even I am 25 years old, right? Mr. Upadhyay might be very old, but I consider myself to be 10. But the fact of the matter remains that, running an administration is a very complex task. And it is one thing to have a lot of passion and a lot of jazba to do the right thing and want the right thing. Yeah. But wanting the right thing and being able to manage the right thing are two completely different things.
All right, I'll wrap up. I'll wrap up with, I think it was Obama who said, you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. That's where the problem is. When you start governing and you don't have any experience of governing, that's when the infinite hope that people like these young politicians are sort of reviving in Nepal, that suddenly sours. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. It's a fascinating story, and as neighbors, we should be paying attention to it. We should be observing it, and we should be watching what's going on in Nepal without preconceptions or judgments, as it were. Thank you for tuning in to Brass Tacks. Thank you for watching from our CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Joining us here on CNN News 18, huge story breaking in the neighborhood. The Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who's been a sort of a semi-permanent fixture in Nepali politics over the last 30 years, he has now tendered in his resignation. His current government, I think this is his third stint in power, his current government, which was an uneasy coalition between him, the Nepali Congress, and a section of the Maoist party. It was an uneasy coalition that had been in power for the last year or so now, and now, given these massive scale protests that we've seen, led by young people, the trigger being, of course, the social media ban, but it goes far beyond that. Issues of corruption, unemployment, privileges, dynastic politics, curbs on young people speaking their mind, all of this sort of came into a deadly cocktail. It came into a deadly combination, which finally ended up consuming the current Prime Minister, Mr. Oli, who has tendered in his resignation. The latest information that we have is that Mr. Oli has been given safe escort by an army chopper. Him and his immediate family members have been taken to an army barrack where they will be kept for some time. CNN News 18 broke this story first to you. We were the first ones to tell you that Mr. Oli has put in his papers. He has officially sent in his resignation to the Nepalese president, Mr. Paudel, whose resignation has now been accepted. At 12:05 p.m., we told you about Mr. Oli planning to step down. It was clear earlier this morning itself. The RSP party quit, 4 ministers quit. The writing on the wall was clear as day to the Nepalese Prime Minister that he's fast losing support and he needs to step down. At 2:16 p.m., officially, KP Sharma Oli, Prime Minister of Nepal, put in his papers and stepped down as Prime Minister after being given safe passage by the military, an assurance of safe passage by the Nepal Army Chief. Let me go across to Darshan, who's a Nepali journalist who is joining us live from Kathmandu. Darshan, so Mr. Oli, the long-serving Prime Minister of Nepal, has finally quit. Do we know where he is? He's apparently been taken in an army helicopter to some safe passage. And what happens next, Darshan? Who becomes the next Prime Minister? What is the next government going to be like? Is there any word about what is happening?
So there is a lot of protest right now. Like though I'm in a hope in safe place right now, I can hear a lot of screaming and the cloud which is filled with the smoke. So I'm not sure which are the buildings that has been into fire, but yeah, the PM Oli finally resigned. But it's not about a new government. It's a generational war. Like I mentioned earlier, Gen Z are like crazy, and there is also a lot of riots that's happening. And there is no one to take a lead at this time. But Gen Z are also looking after Berlin to come forward to control this chaos. Because right now there are protesters inside parliamentary building, inside the Singha Darbar, where all the ministries used to handle their places, and there are also many data centers that have very critical information. And right now there is no presence of the government in the street. Nepal police and APF have already said that the situation is not in our control. So I mean, it's scary.
News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
We're live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. Viewers, it was all over in less than 48 hours. Mobocracy. Yes, this was no spontaneous uprising by some stifled youth. This is a lynch mob that accounted for another government in the subcontinent. Over the last 48 hours, viewers, these mobsters who have banded together under the moniker Gen Z have rampaged, forcing Nepal's communist Prime Minister KP Oli to resign. Now, viewers, a lot more has happened. And these are not any cool students, viewers, as they are being called by the entire liberal Western press, starting with some of the most famous ones, viewers. These are brigands. These are, viewers, the militia of some sort of organization that has penetrated the country. And while Oli is being reportedly sheltered by the military, even as he plans his exit out of the country, his colleagues, viewers, in government haven't been so lucky. Some cabinet ministers were chased by mobs. Look at that, viewers, to the right of your screens. That man who's being kicked around, he's the finance minister of Nepal. The finance minister of the country chased through the streets like a common criminal. He may be one. Try him in a court. Not on the street. And at one point, he was stripped of his clothes and chased down a shallow stream, soaked in blood, viewers. This man. The wife of a former prime minister burnt alive after she was thrashed. Visuals that I can't even begin to show you, viewers. We don't want to. A former prime minister, there he is in the middle of your screens. And that's an ex-Nepal Prime Minister Kanal's wife. Brutalized, killed, set ablaze. And then, viewers, let me show you a former Prime Minister attacked. He's only alive because the military formed a ring around him. There you can see him, viewers. Blood dripping down his shirt. His aged wife beaten black and blue. The mob fury ignited by hashtags on social media berating the Oli regime for being corrupt, nepotistic and authoritarian has torched the parliament, even the Supreme Court, the Hilton Hotel, businesses, homes, institutions, media organizations. Indeed, the Oli government
Was all this, viewers. It was nepotistic, corrupt, and perhaps even more. I certainly don't hold a candle for Oli, who's a Chinese stooge who had no love lost for India. Let me tell you that. But I do hold a candle for democratic constitutionalism. And yes, I condemn this street-driven bloodlust. It has no place in our world, and it should not be valorized. And viewers, this is not the way civilized, mature democracies respond to governments that have contempt for constitutionality. And it is unfortunate that there are some very malevolent minds that are calling these brigand youth leaders heroes, revolutionaries. Delhi is looking at developments cautiously. Nepal is the third neighboring country where mobocracy has challenged the state. The question being asked in government circles is whether it's all a coincidence or is the mayhem the result of a conspiracy. There are many who believe the CIA is behind the uprisings in Dhaka, Colombo, and now in Kathmandu. I can't confirm that. This channel can't confirm that, viewers. But there is talk. And if it is true, then viewers, from Pakistan onwards, we are being surrounded once again by regimes who are puppets of a foreign power that at this moment in time doesn't view India with any goodwill. And viewers, for a while the Mody government in Delhi came uncomfortably close to facing a threat from the street. Many then believe that those agitations were not organic either. We are talking about Shaheen Bagh and the anti-CA Delhi riots and the farmers' agitation. And today I'm horrified to tell you that there are some among us, in particular influential leaders in the India alliance, in the India bloc, that are wishing the same version of this playbook upon the Mody government. They want the Modis of the world, the finance ministers of the world here in this country to be pulled out of their homes and viewers chased down the streets because they've become so desperate for power. Sanjay Raut of the Shiv Sena, the UBT, tweeted the video, viewers, of the Nepalese finance minister being attacked, saying, this accident, if you please, can happen in any country. Be careful. Victory to Mother India. Vande Mataram. Tagging the BJP, Finance Minister Sitaraman and Prime Minister Mody. All are tagged, viewers. IP Singh, senior Samajwadi Party leader, is a lot more explicit. He leaves nothing to the imagination. He says the house of Nepal's Prime Minister is burning to the ground. Remove 75 plus dictators. Save Hindustan. Today Nepal, tomorrow Hindustan. 90% unemployed youth are sitting idle at home. Youth, wake up and seize power. Viewers, there is a way to seize power in this country, and that is through the ballot. It's not to the street. And this is not at odds, viewers, with what has been said before. Salman Khurshid, Congress leader, on August 7, 2024, a year back, he said what's happening in Bangladesh could happen here. The spread in our country prevents things from blowing up in the manner in which they've blown up in Bangladesh. Sajjan Kumar Verma, Congress leader, in August 8, 2024 said, remember Narendra Modi ji, one day people will enter the Prime Minister's residence because of your wrong policies and will occupy it. It happened recently in Sri Lanka where people entered the Prime Minister's house, and then in Bangladesh, and now it's India's turn. Mani Shankar Iyer. Around that same time, viewers, last year, in such a situation, we can say that just as doubts have arisen in people's mind about free and fair elections in Bangladesh, similar doubts are starting to emerge here. They have surfaced there, but they are beginning here as well. Itching almost, viewers, these individuals are for something like this. Yet in India, democracy bends but never breaks. Why? Because governance by and large has delivered. Let's take the numbers. Sri Lanka's external debt crisis left bankrupt in 2022. Bangladesh's forex reserves halved from 48 billion in 21 to under 20 billion in 2025. Nepal's per capita GDP hovers below $1,500 with nearly one-third of its youth unemployed. Compare this to India, 4.1 trillion economy growing at 7.8% a year. especially in Q1, the fastest among major economies. Our foreign reserves are above 650 billion, insulating us against global shocks. Over 500 million Indians have been lifted out of multi-dimensional poverty between 25 and 21, according to the UNDP viewers. Roads are being built at a record 37 kilometers a day, and the UPI digital backbone processes over 12 billion transactions monthly, giving every Indian access to the economy. These figures are not signs of a brittle state. These are foundations of resilience. That is why India does not bow to mobs. Here, governance gives stability, the ballot gives voice to aspirations, and democracy defeats, viewers, mobocracy. Remember that. But let's not get complacent just as yet. There are questions to be posed, and I want to begin tonight, viewers, by asking all the stakeholders that we've assembled here today some very direct questions. Some geopolitics, some on the state of affairs in Nepal, and others, viewers, will be questioned on their political outlook and their pamphleteering on behalf of this lynch mob. And I want to first begin with Dr. Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, is this the handiwork of what the BBC and other left-leaning media outlets called wronged youth, revolutionaries, Gen Z? Or can anyone excuse this orgy of blood-curdling viciousness as a morally justifiable reaction to the high-handedness of a government? Simple question to you tonight.
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists on an absolutely shocking day. Those visuals of ministers, prime ministers being chased down and almost lynched is just horrifying. I want to concentrate on the two very important points that you raised vis-a-vis India, and I think they're very important, especially for us out here. I am equally horrified by a lot of leaders, principally from the opposition parties, saying that what is happening in Nepal right now not only can happen in India, is going to happen in India. And the fact of the matter is that while some Nepalese are wishing that their nation becomes India, some Indians are wishing that their nation becomes Nepal. And the tragedy of this country is that nations can recover, but haters do not. Now, they are saying that such anarchism on the streets, bloodletting, will happen in India because you have the unemployment at record high levels. You have महंगाई or inflation at record high levels. People don't have enough to eat. They are on the streets. आटा नहीं है, खाने को अनाज नहीं है. They have been saying this for the last 11 years. Why has anarchism or bloodletting not poured onto the streets? If this was true for the last 11 years, why have 11 Nepals or 12 Bangladeshis or Sri Lankas not sprung up all over India? If what they are saying is true, the fact of the matter is what they are saying is a blatant lie. And that is the reason why you don't have situations like Nepal and Bangladesh in India, and you wouldn't for the foreseeable future. Because the fact of the matter is that last year, 47 million jobs were created. The fact of the matter is that in India right now, inflation is at a 17-year low. Our forex reserves have been the highest ever, stock market highest ever, vehicle sales highest ever, PMI manufacturing highest ever. Everything points to India not being a victim of anarchy because of all the issues that these people have raised, and also to boot it all, inequality is at a record low, Gini coefficient is 0.29. So their lies have been exposed not by politicians or by analysts, but by people themselves, because they haven't poured onto the streets. Now the second important question, and this is very important, can that happen? And I'll tell you yes. The sad answer is yes, it will happen. Not because the people of their own volition will pour onto the streets. Of course they do from time to time. Shaheen Bagh is an example. CA protest is an example. You have the Republic Day when they remove the Indian flag is an example. But this kind of a thing can happen because the government can allow it to happen. The cowardice of the government will allow anarchists to spread and millions of Nepals being sprouted in India. The reason is that you had Shaheen Bagh, an illegal protest, continue for 6 months, inconveniencing millions of people. You had the anti-CA, you had the anti-farm law protest blockading Delhi for almost a year. The nation incurred a loss of 3,500 crores every day for the entire year. That was not because of the bravado of the anarchists or lumpens. That was because of the cowardice of the government. And that is what I fear. All the cases against all those lumpens and anarchists were taken back by the government. All those who burned rice stubble and created mayhem, the cases were taken back by the government. This is the situation in our country. At the altar of political expediency, the government ironically can encourage anarchy, not the people.
Well, let me bring in Mr. Jain. Mr. Jain, yet the India bloc is wishing this sort of medievalism upon the Modi government, this sort of anarchy. Do you really endorse coups? Or are you so desperate? Do you want anarchy? Is that why you are without proof constantly spawning or spoiling for some sort of an insurrection? Is that what's really happening? Will you condemn what some of your India bloc friends have said, calling upon the youth to rise up and do what these people have done to people like Mody and the finance minister, etc.? Take a position, please, tonight.
Rahul, of course, I'm taking a position. First of all, let me be very clear to you and Mr. Dr. Ranganathan and any other viewers who may have any doubts. Nobody from the opposition is asking the Indian youth to pick up arms and start beating up prime ministers or burning their houses or this or that. Let me make it very clear that cautioning the government against an ill that might come does not mean that we are wishing for that ill. Rahul Gandhi, in the beginning of March 2020, cautioned the government that act properly, otherwise we'll face a serious problem when COVID comes. That was not him wishing for COVID to come, but that was him cautioning the government. But the BJP government at the center was very busy breaking the Madhya Pradesh government with the help of Jyotiraditya Scindia. And now exactly the same thing is being done by opposition leaders right now, that you need to make sure that the unemployment situation in the country, that the law and order situations in various parts of the country do not spiral down to something where we see something like this. Because I remember about a decade ago, there was this incident when a large people's protest was happening across the country in Delhi, in the Ramlila Maidan, and there were crowds that breached the security barriers of the president's estate. Not the president's estate, the Rashtrapati Bhavan. They had to be stopped by water cannons. And I remember that my friends from the BJP at that point of time were saying, ho, kitna galat ho gaya, janta pe pani maar diya gaya. Now my same friends from the BJP come around and say how all of, any sort of protest is so illegal and anti-national and how it should not happen. For the viewers who may be younger, may not remember what those protests were. Those were protests called the India Against Corruption, spearheaded by an RSS man called Anna Hazare, backed by the RSS, and led on stage by BJP leaders like Smriti Irani, Kiran Bedi, Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley, and a whole bunch of the people from the BJP, but nobody was seeing that they are trying to bring down the Indian state. All of that said, I don't think it is in our interest or our country's interest when the government and the ruling party and all the sympathizers just pretend that sab changa si, koi problem nahi hai, there's no unemployment problem, there is no problem of murders in Bihar, there is no problem of election commission being openly partisan, there is no problem with the people of the country believing the whole story allegations.
He began by saying, Mr. Jain began by saying, let me be very clear to you, nobody in the opposition is asking for the youth to rise up. Now, viewers, this is what, I'm coming to you, Dr. Ranganathan. I think you're holding something up. Can you tell us what that is? Because there is somebody called IP Singh, a senior Samajwadi Party leader, was a minister in the UP government last time when the SP was around. And this is what he says. The house of Nepal's prime minister is burning to the ground. Remove 75+ year dictator. Save Hindustan. Who's he talking about, viewers? We all know. Today Nepal, tomorrow Hindustan. 90% unemployed youth are sitting idle at home. Youth, wake up and seize power. Seize power. And this gentleman here, Mr. Jain, is telling us that this has not been said by anyone from the opposition. That this is a call to insurrection. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but the claims of my good friend Nikhil are laughable because this is a Congress leader, Raja Pataria. And he says, if you want to save the constitution, kill Modi. What are you talking about, Nikhil?
Viewers, who is Raja Pataria? Dr. Ranganathan, I have never even
Who is IP Singh? Who is Sanjay Raut? They're nobody.
He's an MLA.
They're all incidental.
Oh my God, he's an MLA. Do you remember there was a BJP MLA telling all Hindus in the country to rise up and take up swords in their hands and murder all Muslims?
Nikhil Jain, you can today play this game of whataboutery till the cows come home. No problem.
Rahul, honestly,
take responsibility.
I don't intend to do whataboutery.
Take responsibility. Take responsibility for God's sakes. And I want to come into Pawan Verma. Mr. Verma, today I speak to the former diplomat in you and not the opposition leader. I'm not talking to an opposition former parliamentarian and somebody who is invested politically in India's democracy. I want to ask you today, as someone who's been a diplomat, a student, an intellectual, somebody who understands geopolitics, to comment on this chilling dance of death and condemn it for what it is. This is certainly not, Gen Z youth stifled, democracy being sort of, quashed, and therefore lynching their leaders who have at least won an election. Try them in a court of law, do whatever. And I also want you to take a position on what some of these opposition leaders are saying today.
Thank you, Rahul. Frankly, I'm perplexed, genuinely perplexed at the turn of this debate. Because notwithstanding what you said in the beginning and what my good friend Anand said, I think any comparisons being made with what is happening in Nepal and the possibility of it happening in India are, I think, frankly, fear-mongering. They are picking up statements. In a large democracy, there are bound to be people on the edge of lunacy who make such statements, but the mass of India is part of a democratic setup. Yes, there is opposition to the government. Yes, sometimes as a democratic right of protest, it spills on to the streets. I'm sure Anand would not like the silence of a totalitarian state, and so there are protests. Sometimes they go out of hand, but by and large, India is well within the mainstream of a democracy, and any comparison with what is happening in Nepal seems to be a preposterously preemptive and defensive position to take, which has no relevance whatsoever. Having said that, in my view, what is happening in Nepal currently is anarchy, but behind that present phase of anarchy, Nepal was in a scenario where a great deal of resentment and even anger was simmering below the surfaces because of zero governance, skyrocketing prices, and rampant corruption, what they call in Hindi, Bhai Bhatijawad, Nepo, kids of the rich and influential. And as against that, there was a lot of anger where the trigger happened to be the ban on social media, which then spilled over into street protests that inevitably, following the Bangladesh pattern, led to reprisal, killing of as many as 24 and wounding of 400, 500, which has led the situation to spiral out of control. And today, I do not condone for a moment the kind of violence we have seen, but at the same time, I understand that right now we are in a situation of anarchy. And I do not wish anarchy on any country. As regards what is happening in Nepal's relevance to India, I've already made it clear. The question doesn't arise, and for us to debate it even,
there will be
for
opinions.
us to debate it even is a bit.
No. I think, Mr. Verma, we can't be dismissive.
Bit way off the mark.
No. We can't be dismissive. There are mainstream leaders. These are not some fringe lunatics. This is Sanjay Raut, who is an influential leader within his own faction of the UBT Shiv Sena. He has got the ear of both Rahul Gandhi and Uddhav Thackeray. He's not incidental to Indian politics. He's a member of parliament in the past. He is the chief orchestrator ideologically of the stands that are taken by certain political parties. He's called for consultations by all the other
But what I want to focus on, Rahul,
no, hang on. This is a very
dangerous...
dangerous...
What I want to focus on, Rahul, I'll just take 30 seconds.
No, and Mr. Verma, we can't say that, look, yes, there was a
what
tipping
I want
point.
to focus on.
There are tipping points. There was a administration, the UPA, that was sought to be all these, corrupt to the nth power, nepotistic to the nth power. There was a popular uprising that ran a course through this city of Delhi Ramleela Maidan was occupied, a man was starving himself to death, a political party was born out of that, a third way,
Rahul,
but a third way was born.
You are by these arguments.
Which political party
Can
was
I
that?
just come in for 30 seconds?
No, one second. A democratic approach was taken.
I'll stop.
No one rammed their way into parliament and pulled down the speaker.
Who is questioning that?
Yes,
Rahul,
we must take a position. We must take a
Rahul,
position.
You seem to be obsessed with it.
This is.
Rahul,
I am obsessed because I do realize I am a Democrat to the core.
Stable democracy.
No, we can't be.
India
No,
is a
sir.
stable
No,
democracy.
Mr. Verma. We have
And
gone
therefore,
through.
I would like you
We
not
have
to
gone
make
through
these
in the
analogies and
70s.
comparisons.
Mr. Verma, we have
I
gone
want to
through
say
in
to
the
you
70s.
that it may be far more.
I'm sorry. We
Rahul,
have gone
you-
through
you
in the
do all the
70s a
talking of-
period
you
of
call me as a
anarchy
panelist.
that
Let me
led
speak.
to somebody
Let me at least
imposing
have
an
my word.
emergency. No, Mr. Verma, let's not be
You cannot
completely.
impose your opinion.
No,
you
I'm not
can't
imposing my
impose your
opinion. I'm
on
only
a
giving
panelist.
another
You've
point
got
of
to
view.
hear him. Please hear me out.
Yeah, please.
Please hear me out.
Yeah.
I have said from the beginning that by overstressing this point of people wishing what is happening in Nepal to happen to India, you are raising a bogey which has no possibility of coming to fruition or reality, because India is a stable democracy where opposition exists but within the mainstream of democracy. Having said that,
Sir,
I think you should also debate what has led to the situation of this kind in Nepal.
Okay. Look,
let's
yes. Look, no one is denying the fact. I'm not denying it. I have already said in my introduction that there was a petri dish of problems, but this tipping point, viewers, at a time like this, let's not be complacent about the solidity. And I want to bring in Brahmacharya and I want to bring in General Pandey. Yuval Noah Harari, viewers, has written a book called Nexus. The big difference in the 21st century, I'm not a fan of his politics, viewers, but the big difference he points out in the 21st century are the tools that are available for spreading propaganda, disinformation, and I'm using the word disinformation. These have not existed in the past. They can go through any wall, physical wall, viewers, and penetrate the mind. And they can seed narratives. And Brahmacharya, I'm sorry whether we like it or not, the Americans complained about interference in their election process. Putin complains about interference in his regime. There are people around the globe who talk about the complete trammeling of executive authority because of people who have set up shop on social media and are constructing narratives to undermine the institutions that govern their countries. This is possible.
You're asking me, Rahul?
Yes, Professor.
Well, I think let's look at the larger picture first in relation to Nepal. Ever since Nepal began its experiment with democracy, it has been racked by chronic instability.